The story begins with the protagonist swiftly chopping vegetables, racing against the clock to prepare a fresh salad for his business. Moments later, he breaks an egg into a sizzling pan, the surface hissing immediately upon contact. With everything finally in place, he announces that the long-awaited grand opening is about to commence. From a distance, a group of men in suits closely watches the food truck, noting that it will open for customers in just a few minutes. At that moment, a citywide alert about Deok-Chun's food truck spreads rapidly, plunging the city into chaos. Passengers on buses urge their drivers to accelerate. Teachers leave their classes abruptly in the middle of lectures. Office workers are suddenly requesting leave, unwilling to pass up the opportunity to sample the legendary food. Inside the monitoring center, an employee stares in disbelief at the screen as the crowd count soars from 200,000 to over 1 million. As the frenzy escalates, a mysterious woman understands that she has no time to lose. She vows that this time, she won't let Deok-Chun slip through her fingers again. Soon, numerous girls start sprinting, surfing, riding, and doing whatever is necessary to reach the food truck. Somehow, that small truck has captured the attention of nearly the entire city, and there he stands, proclaiming that he is right on time to open the shop. His earlier preparations have transformed into a stunning array of colorful, flavorful dishes that are so enticing they leave viewers' mouths watering. Meet Jun-ho, the protagonist of our story and a true master of the culinary arts. From within his food truck, he greets the large crowd rushing toward him from every direction. As soon as people catch sight and smell of his cooking, the area bursts with excitement, illuminated by a soft pink glow. It seems as though the protagonist is enchanting every woman nearby, solely through his culinary talents. Before all of this, we flash back to Jun-ho sitting alone in a dimly lit room, endlessly scrolling through his phone. His screen is inundated with messages requesting loan payments and overdue fees. We learn that he lost $300 million in a scam that promised substantial profits, refunds in exchange for purchasing products and writing fake reviews. A news report reveals that hundreds of others fell victim to the same scheme. What hurt him most wasn't merely the loss of money, it was the humiliation of being deceived, which ultimately resulted in his job loss. Overwhelmed by despair, he bought booze to numb his feelings. That night, he wandered through the snowy streets, drinking alone and descending further into intoxication. Suddenly, a mouth-watering aroma wafted through the air, drawing him toward a small food truck. The sign read, "Go Deok-Chun." He rummaged through his pockets and realized he hardly had enough change to buy anything. Noticing his somber expression, the cook inquired about what was troubling him. The drunk man retorted, accusing him of feigning understanding of his troubles. Yet, Jun-ho paused, captivated by the alluring aroma. The cook, sporting a bandana emblazoned with Deok-Chun's name, chuckled warmly and offered him complimentary takoyaki, believing that hunger was the real issue. Jun-ho nearly drooled at the aroma, though he questioned the stranger's generosity. In the end, he took a big bite of the steaming octopus ball. The moment it touched his tongue, the flavor burst like a cosmic shockwave. The tender batter and chewy octopus sent his thoughts drifting through an imaginary galaxy. The sauce and toppings swirled around him like a cosmic galaxy. It felt as if an entire universe had melted within him. Warming a part of his heart he believed had gone cold forever, he was overwhelmed by the comfort, and tears streamed down his face. With a playful grin, the chef inquired about the taste. Sobbing openly, Jun-ho admitted that he wanted others to experience exactly what he was feeling in that moment. Noticing the spark ignite in his eyes, Deok-Chun asked him what he was waiting for. With a gentle smile, the chef welcomed him into the food truck. 3 years went by as the young man worked tirelessly to repay Uncle Deok-Chun's kindness. He keeps a photo of his mentor inside the truck, fully aware that the debt he owes can never truly be repaid. Even now, the old man's reprimands resonate in his ears, steering him onward. He vows that the name Deok-Chun will one day be recognized throughout the nation. Meanwhile, the old man's ghost becomes increasingly frustrated as he watches Jun-ho absent-mindedly spill flour all over the floor after getting distracted. The scene shifts to a luxurious restaurant, buzzing with activity as waiters prepare for a particularly important guest. 2 employees whisper to each other, speculating about who could afford to rent an entire three-star restaurant. The guest is revealed to be the only daughter of the SH Group, the wealthiest conglomerate in the world. Her name is Nam Si-hee, and a whole army of chefs and waitstaff is prepared to serve her alone. Photos of her flying to school by helicopter circulate on their phones, and renting private islands for an afternoon of relaxation. The staff can't help but envy her incredibly lavish lifestyle. Yet when she cuts into her food, her face reveals nothing but irritation. Every gesture she makes is deliberate, quietly assessed by those around her. The hollow routine she endures weighs heavily on her heart. The dishes set before her exude no warmth, only an abundance of wealth and status. Then, something unimaginable happens. She suddenly vomits the food prepared by the world's top chef. Seeing this, the chef gasps in horror, exclaiming, "Mamma mia!" After wiping her mouth, she understands that money alone can never fill the void within her. She carefully places her fork down, feeling as though she's confined within a glass cage. As she closes her eyes, she feels herself gradually fading away, bit by bit. Eventually, the city's traffic comes to a complete standstill. Inside her car, Si-hee murmurs that she can't catch her breath. The driver asks if she would like him to roll down the window, but instead, she smiles, writes sorry on the glass, and steps outside. With bold, graceful movements, she leaps over cars and eludes her astonished driver. In a panic, he calls Chief Kim to report the young Mrs. escape. Si-hee strolls through the streets feeling alive for the first time in ages. To avoid detection, she leaves everything in the car, ready to embrace her true identity as Nam Si-hee, even if just for a moment. She wonders how long she can survive on a few checks, each worth 10 million won, or about $40,000. As she walks down the street, a job advertisement catches her attention. The listed wage is $13.201 per hour, but she mistakenly interprets it as $132 million won and promptly decides to accept the job. At work, she welcomes customers with a cheerful, eager smile. Before long, a con artist arrives, questioning the store's buy one, get one free promotion. She calmly confirms the deal and hands over the items, leaving him at a loss for words. Moments later, a drunken man tries to exchange a live chicken for a bottle of soju. To his surprise, she agrees without hesitation. Soon after, the store owner enters and inquires if everything is okay. He freezes mid-sentence as chaos erupts around him. Customers lie unconscious on the floor, and a chicken runs wild through the store. She confidently gives a thumbs up, but the owner promptly tells her to leave his store. It becomes painfully evident that Si-hee is not fit for the job, leading to her dismissal from the small convenience store. In another situation, a different boss dismisses her, accusing her of pretending to be the wealthy Nam Si-hee. She tries again, only to be rejected once more when the owner flatly refuses to collaborate with someone as clueless as she is. Still, determined not to give up, she enters a cozy corner coffee shop. There she stands, confused and unable to comprehend what she has done wrong, despite her politeness and cheerfulness. After receiving her coffee, she inquires about the price and proudly displays her checks to the owner. Seizing the opportunity, he asserts that the drink costs 60 million won. Si-hee freezes, taken aback by the outrageous sum. She quickly apologizes and rushes out, leaving the barista staring after her in bewilderment. Only then does the owner realize she has left the checks behind and attempts to call out to her. Exhausted and defeated, she collapses onto the sidewalk, overwhelmed by the harshness of everyday life. Through tears, she confesses that, without money or status, she feels utterly worthless. Suddenly, a mouth-watering aroma wafts through the air. It's emanating from our protagonist's food truck. The aroma wafts from fish-shaped pastries sizzling on the griddle. When he asks how many she would like, I can only stare, utterly captivated by the scent. Jun-ho finds it strange how intensely the girl is gazing at him. The typically composed Si-hee finds herself at a loss for words. Flustered, she explains that she's been let go from every job she's attempted, and asks if he accepts credit. He declines, while the ghost of his master murmurs that she doesn't even have $500 to her name. Her expression falters, and once more, she feels completely powerless. The scene brings back memories for Jun-ho, reminding him of a time when he felt equally powerless. Touched by the memory, he invites her into the food truck, surprising her completely. He instructs her to begin by preparing a fish-shaped pastry. Sai-hee clumsily follows the steps as he urges her to hurry, grumbling about his hunger. Unsure of herself, she pours the batter into the mold, relying on her instincts. She adds the red bean filling, attempting to gauge the appropriate amount. As she closes the mold, she waits anxiously, silently praying that she has done it correctly. However, her initial attempt ends in disaster. The pastry emerges burnt, blackened, and utterly ruined, completely unsalvageable. She apologizes, feeling embarrassed for having messed up something so simple. To her astonishment, he picks up the charred pastry and takes a bite, calmly declaring that it's still edible. He places a single coin in her hand as payment for her efforts. Then, he asks if she would like to work with him, noting that she is currently unemployed. The woman hesitates, taken aback by the unexpected offer. When she doesn't reply immediately, he adds that she doesn't have to agree, but Sai-hee suddenly grabs his hand, the coin still resting in his palm, and eagerly accepts. In her excitement, she joyfully calls him Mr. Deok-Chun, thrilled that she has finally been hired. As the day comes to a close, she smiles brightly while thanking a departing customer. With her assistance, Jung-ho successfully sells out every item on the food truck. She eagerly asks if she performed well. He becomes awkward, uncertain of how to respond. Instead, he presents her with a box of burnt pastries she made and remarks that her performance was merely average. Si-hee lets out a relieved sigh, promises to improve tomorrow, and once again refers to him as Mr. Deok-kun. Jun-ho begins to correct her, about to say his name isn't Deok-kun, but he stops himself. He decides it doesn't matter what she calls him, as long as his uncle's name becomes known. Suddenly, she sneezes. Noticing that she's cold, he offers her his jacket for the walk home. This simple act of kindness touches her deeply. She holds the jacket to her face and inhales its scent. Meanwhile, Uncle Deok-chun's ghost is practically beaming with pride, delighted that the boy is behaving like a true gentleman. Back at the truck, Jun-ho offers her a lift. An uncomfortable silence falls between them. Sai-hee then admits that, despite finally finding a job, she has nowhere to sleep. Both he and the ghost are taken aback. He can hardly believe what he's hearing. He never thought a woman dressed like a celebrity could be homeless. He hands her the day's wages and suggests she find a place to stay. She blushes deeply. As he observes her, he reflects that she has a knack for making people anxious. Lacking a solid plan, he decides to take her back to his place. He prepares ramen for dinner. He explains that ramen is all he has at the moment. Sai-hee beams with excitement as she cradles a small cat in her arms. She remembers an expensive seafood noodle dish she enjoyed long ago. She notes that she's only had ramen once before. He assumes it was because she couldn't afford it more often. In reality, she never had the chance to enjoy simple food because of strict dietary restrictions. She hugs the cat and remarks that it actually resembles Mr. Jun-ho a bit. He explains that the cat is merely a stray that visits occasionally. She mentioned that she believed his place was a shelter for it. However, he casually reveals that this is actually his home, catching her completely by surprise. Once the ramen is ready, he hands her a bowl. She takes a bite and her eyes sparkle with delight. She eagerly devours it, praising its delicious taste, which leaves him flustered. She mentions that the noodles are both spicy and soft, and inquires about how he achieved that texture. His secret is soon revealed. He whisks an egg with a splash of milk to achieve a smooth consistency. Then, he thoroughly mixes the cooked noodles in the bowl until each strand is evenly coated. Finally, he carefully pours in the broth, finishing the dish. With her stomach full, she thanks him. She mentioned that she can't recall the last time she ate that much. When it's time for bed, she insists on sleeping on the floor to avoid overstepping her boundaries. He draws the curtain closed and assures her that they can share the bed without any problem. As she lies down, she asks him if he feels cramped, but he claims he's fine. Uncle Deok-chun's ghost whispers that she's the perfect daughter-in-law and calls Jun-ho an idiot for not realizing it. Si-hee expresses her gratitude for the day, mentioning that she wanted to demonstrate her ability to stand on her own, that he is the first person who has ever believed in her. She claims that, for once, she lived as the true Nam Si-hee, rather than the version everyone expects. because he provided her with such a meaningful day. She promises to change his life in return. She then inquires about the cost of fulfilling that promise. When he doesn't respond, so she reaches out. She gets up and opens the curtain, discovering him fast asleep, completely oblivious, with his ears plugged. Suddenly, a blinding light fills the room, accompanied by the thunderous roar of a helicopter that shatters the night. The window shatters outward. Over the radio, a special agent announces that the young girl has been found. An agent seizes Shi-hee and carries her toward the waiting helicopter as she cries out for Mr. Jun-ho. The ghost watches in anguish as she is taken away, while the protagonist sleeps soundly, oblivious to the old spirit's cries for his lost daughter-in-law. The following morning, sunlight glints off shards of broken glass strewn across the floor. Jun-ho wakes up disoriented, unable to recall what transpired. He gazes at the wreckage in disbelief. Before long, he returns to his regular routine at the food truck. His master's ghost sighs bitterly, lamenting that he genuinely believed he had finally gained a daughter-in-law. As the truck operates, a large screen nearby showcases an advertisement featuring Sai-hee. The ghost instantly recognizes her, shouting her name as everything finally falls into place. He wonders how he could have failed to recognize her earlier. Her promise and her question about the cost echo in his mind. In a panic, the ghost scolds his nephew, calling him an idiot for missing a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Recalling her frantic disappearance, he assumes they will never meet again. However, to their complete shock, Si-hee suddenly appears and casually announces her return. The protagonist asks what occurred after her disappearance and why his window was broken. She gives him a check to express her gratitude for the previous day. To make amends for the trouble she caused, the ghost freezes upon seeing the amount, 1 billion won, roughly $500,000. Jun-ho quickly begins to feel suspicious. He scrutinizes the check while the ghost stares in disbelief. Ignoring their reactions, Sai-hee asks what today's special is, noticing that the truck looks a bit different. Believing the check is counterfeit, Yun-ho throws it in the trash and remarks, "Today's special is fried chicken." She lights up instantly, eager to try the famous Korean fried chicken. The ghost panics, shouting that the money is real as he frantically dives into the trash to retrieve the check. Sai-hee volunteers to assist. As the ghost reprimands her for overlooking such an obvious mistake, Jun-hee starts sweating when he sees her reaction. Sai-hee is astonished. After all, she speaks 15 languages, excels in broadcasting, horseback riding, and even underwater training, and can play 7 instruments. Yet, she doesn't know how to make batter. Nevertheless, she ties her hair back with determination and vows to give it her all. He observes her with a disinterested gaze, unmoved by her enthusiasm. He cautions her that her clothes make it dirty, and she inquires whether her outfit is inappropriate. Without hesitation, she begins changing right there in the food truck. She removes her oversized clothes and tosses them aside. Beneath, she is dressed in a sleek, athletic outfit. Jun-ho's face flushes bright red, taken aback by how revealing it is. Si-hee accidentally knocks over a bowl, pouring its contents directly into the hot oil. The oil erupts violently, causing her to gasp as she mutters that this job is somewhat terrifying. Pieces can explode into the air as she screams in terror. Reacting quickly, Jun-ho leaps in front of her, protecting her from the splattering oil. He asks if she is all right. Hot droplets burst around them like sparks. Her heart races as she gazes at him, frozen and uncertain about how to respond to this incredible man standing just inches away. She softly whispers his name, utterly captivated. Suddenly, someone calls out for Sai-hee, pulling his attention away. Stunned, Sai-hee exhales deeply. Mother's name, A. The flashback begins inside a recording studio. A voice announces the arrival of the chairwoman of the SH group, Yoon-hee-young, Se-hee's mother, who exudes a powerful and intimidating presence. Without hesitation, the chairwoman demands to know the whereabouts of her daughter, named Se-hee. A trembling employee responds that the young lady hasn't arrived yet and cannot be reached. With a cold glare, she beckons Secretary Kim with a flick of her finger, and the loyal aide steps forward without hesitation. Yoon-hee-young resolves to personally search for her missing daughter. In the present, the atmosphere outside the food truck suddenly changes. The ghost panics upon realizing that the chairwoman of the SH group has appeared in person. A group of men in suits rushes forward to restrain Jun-ho. He is subdued within seconds and compelled to kneel before the formidable chairwoman. Secretary Kim stood tall, and she orders everyone to stand down and states that she will listen to what they have to say first. Seated in a grand chair, she exudes an air of ownership over the entire world. The chairwoman announces that she will listen to him, regardless of the excuse he intends to offer. She even suggests that these might be his final words, sending a chill down Jun-ho's spine. Jun-ho clarifies that he and Sae-hee only collaborate professionally, firmly asserting that there is nothing more between them. Sae-hee encourages her, telling her mother that she should have faith in his words. The chairwoman picks up a piece of fried chicken, examines it with curiosity, and inquires about its cost. He responds that it's 10,000 on won. This prompts her to comment that 10,001 per piece seems quite reasonable for commoner food. In response, Jun-ho attempts to clarify, stating that it's actually 10,001 for the entire dish. She completely ignores him and instead directs a sharp, serious gaze at her daughter. She asks if he even knows who the famous Nam Sae-hee is. With a bored expression, Jun-ho replies that he has no idea who that could be. Sae-hee's mother believes he is pretending not to understand due to the significant gap in their social status. Without softening her tone, she straightforwardly asks if he is in love with her beloved daughter. Jun-ho candidly admits that he doesn't like her at all. The chairwoman gently holds her temple and calmly concludes that her daughter must be the one. With anger flashing in her eyes, she demands to know if he spent the night before with her daughter. Sae-hee's face flushes as the questioning becomes more intense. Overwhelmed by the situation, the chairwoman suddenly pretends to faint, sending Secretary Kim into a panic. Frustrated, Jun-ho insists that nothing occurred between them the previous night. When the chairwoman recovers, she leans in and asks if he's casually dating her daughter. He denies it, but she continues to press, insisting on knowing if he intends to marry her. With open disdain, she asserts that a mere street vendor has no right to even dream of such aspirations. The sheer arrogance renders Jun-ho speechless. The chairwoman then instructs Secretary Kim to bring something special. The secretary opens a briefcase filled to the brim with cash. Both Sae-hee and the ghost uncle urge her to stop this madness. Yoon-young calmly offers 10 billion won, causing the uncle's spirit to become so excited that he begins referring to her as his future-in-law. Banknotes swirl through the air like a storm of cash. Sae-hee buries her face in embarrassment, mortified by her mother's behavior. Meanwhile, the chairwoman remains entirely unfazed, her sharp expression unchanged. She urges him to accept the money and marry her daughter. Jun-ho stands frozen, overwhelmed by the proposal and the pile of cash before him. Sae-hee and the other person stare at each other in shock. The chairwoman reiterates her insistence that he accept the money and marry her daughter. Jun-ho, completely bewildered, repeats the word marriage in disbelief. Sae-hee quickly steps in, affectionately clinging to her mother, while subtly highlighting how embarrassing the performance is. With a confident smile, the chairwoman states that there is just one condition for the marriage. Before she can express it, Jun-ho firmly states that he has no interest. The chairwoman finds his defiance endearing and advises him not to be so fearful just yet. She discloses her condition, stating that he must leave the food truck and join the SH group instead. She explains that if he wishes to marry her daughter, he needs to be elevated to the same social standing as her. At that moment, Jun-ho pounds his hand on the briefcase filled with cash. His expression shifts to one of concern as he questions whether her true intention was the food truck all along. As he steps closer, he mentions his keen intuition for such matters, clearly unsettling her. He leans in and tells her that, to him, she has the scent of a con artist. The chairwoman acknowledges her appreciation for his boldness, but adds one final condition. With a fierce glare, she declares her disdain for horses that cannot be tamed. Jun-ho snatches the food away and asserts that he will never relinquish control to anyone. Turning his back on her, he warns her not to seek him out again. He adds that the same message is relevant for Nam Sae-hee. Sae-hee reaches out to him in her heartbreak, but he has already left. In another part of the city, the impressive headquarters of the SH Group stands out against the skyline. Inside, a polished nameplate designates the chairwoman's office. There, Sae-hee confronts her mother. She claims to have spent her entire life following others' commands. Now, for the first time, she has something she desires for herself. She exclaims that she has found someone she likes and questions whether money is truly an issue. Her mother silently holds her coffee cup, distant and attentive, as she listens to her daughter's rant. Si-hee then questions whether she's looking down on the man for not earning $1 billion a month, and if it's because he's merely a stray she picked up. Si-hee begins to pant for breath after her outburst. With a frigid expression, the chairwoman inquires whether her daughter has finished her little performance. She steps closer and states that she doesn't care about anyone else, because no one can ever reach their level anyway. In a cold, dark tone, she states that she will permit her daughter to be with that man. She notes that to keep him, Si-hee just needs to make sure he can never work in that pathetic food truck again. Her mother intimidates her, insisting that she must comply for the sake of the SH group, that she must follow instructions. As tears well up in her eyes, Si-hee feels trapped while her mother affectionately calls her a good girl, just as she always has. In the meantime, life at the food truck seems to be returning to normal. The protagonist speaks to a photo of his uncle, expressing that he has safeguarded the truck his uncle left behind. The ghost laments that he wasted 10 billion won on that same business. Junho's thoughts drift back to Nam Se-hee. He remembers how much she resembled him in the past, but now questions whether she truly wanted him or just the truck. Junho angrily taps the photo, realizing he was nearly scammed once more. Gazing at his reflection, he declares that he will protect the food truck with his life. At the company, Secretary Kim throws herself against the locked door, pleading with the young miss to calm down. Inside her room, Si-hee collapses onto the bed and screams that everything is her mother's fault. In tears, she insists that 10 billion won means nothing to her, and sobs at the thought that Junho told her not to return. She calls her mother terrible, trembling with fear over what she might do next. She feels the need to protect him in some way. Then she recalls Junho's serious yet gentle expression. She recalls the moment he wrapped her in his jacket and the intense moment they experienced in the food truck. With her cheeks flushed, she acknowledges that she is already completely in love with him. Sitting up in bed, she suddenly has an idea. She calls for her secretary at the top of her lungs. In a hurry, she grabs Secretary Kim and instructs her to prepare everything right away. With a sly, determined expression, she unveils her grand plan of proposal. Meanwhile, on a sunny morning, Junho's stray cat naps peacefully. Junho wakes up, noting the perfect weather for business. He frowns at the early morning noise of a helicopter. Looking up, he sees his food truck being lifted into the sky. Frozen in disbelief, he soon realizes his truck is being stolen. In a panic, he screams for the helicopter to stop, but no one hears him. Without a moment to think, he begins sprinting after it. He soon realizes he can't keep up, so he quickly rents a bike to pursue the speeding truck. Pedaling with all his might, he struggles to maintain focus on it. Exhausted, he arrives at a building and demands the return of his truck. As he looks ahead, he is completely taken aback by what he discovers. A brand new food truck stands there, a monstrous high-end model adorned with a massive gift ribbon. Slowly, the door opens like the curtains of a concert stage. To his astonishment, he suddenly appears inside. Wearing a stunning wedding gown, she calls his name with a loving gaze and a radiant smile. She claims that she wholeheartedly prepared all of this just for him. She joyfully pulls on the large ribbon wrapped around the truck while he stands there in stunned silence. The words SH Dining Cruise are elegantly inscribed in golden letters on the side of the vehicle. She proudly claims that this is an ultra-luxurious food truck designed specifically for him. She moves closer and says that from now on, they will be together in that place. Furious, he slams her against the wall and demands to know what she has done. A flashback reveals her in a kitchen, wearing an apron and resembling a housewife. She attempts to chop vegetables but clearly lacks the skill until someone steps in to assist. She is taken aback when a pair of hands gently guides hers. Junho steps in behind her, gently taking her hands to offer his support. He gently reminds her that he already warned her against taking any risks. Flustered, she replies that she simply wanted to assist Mr. Junho. Junho embraces her, expressing that her mere presence is a gift in itself. In a deeply romantic moment, he professes his love and they share a passionate kiss. But it all turns out to be just a dream. In reality, he is leaning in to kiss Secretary Kim. The secretary steps back, puzzled, and asks what is so remarkable about that man. She then recalls that the young Mrs. Basic assets are valued at approximately 900 billion won. Additionally, he possesses a hidden art collection valued at 30 trillion won, along with a private space station and fleets of covert submarines. The secretary nearly breaks down, lamenting that, in comparison, Junho has nothing but a small food truck. He explains that Junho filled the emptiness within her in a way that nothing else ever could. She claims that among all her possessions, not a single item is something she genuinely desired. For the first time, she has something she truly desires, and she declares her determination to keep it at all costs. She believes that the moment spent with him in the food truck felt like pure magic. In that moment, her status became irrelevant. She feels that within that small space, she found a type of happiness that money can never purchase. She insists that she did all of this for herself, solely because she wants to be happy. She also expresses her intention to make Mr. Junho the happiest man in the world. Drawing a parallel to Cinderella, she vows to transform everything for his benefit and turn him into a true prince. She tells him not to worry. All he needs to do is step into the glass slippers and approach her. Her fairy tale shatters in an instant as Junho casually crushes the glass slippers beneath his foot, showing no hesitation. With a dark expression, he reaches out and moves in closer. Still furious, he holds her in place and demands to know what she has done with his original food truck. He advises her not to tarnish his uncle's reputation by associating it with that flashy new truck. He feels completely overwhelmed and wonders why he is behaving this way. Secretary Kim snaps and reprimands him for treating the young miss so harshly. Junho remembers the news report about the scam that cost him everything. He explains that he understands how people use flattering words as bait to deceive others and take everything from them. He states, baffled. He turns to Seihi and says it doesn't matter whether she is an heiress or anything else. He points to his uncle's name on the truck and asserts that he has no intention of abandoning it. With a defiant glare, he pounds his chest and dares them to try to take his food truck from him. Seihi blushes and begins to ponder the true meaning behind those words. She understands that, to him, her wealth is irrelevant. Because of this, she completely misinterprets his meaning, convincing herself that he was referring to his heart rather than the truck. Everything falls into place in her mind, and she suddenly feels an overwhelming sense of hope. The protagonist gazes at both of them with a serious expression. By now, Seihi is completely in love with him. After that, Junho goes back to work, focusing on perfecting his signature corn dogs. He completes each dish with the expert flair of a seasoned chef, sprinkling salt with a stylish motion. With a smile, he hands the fresh corn dog to the next person in line. Watching from her hiding spot behind a tree, Seihi vows to herself that she will help him sell every last item that day. He finds the entire situation suspicious. However, he cannot deny that business is thriving. Despite this, he begins to notice something strange about the customers. One of them loudly praises the food before even taking a bite, which immediately raises his suspicions. At that moment, Seihi notices him scanning the area, clearly on high alert for anything unusual. As the cat naps peacefully nearby, Junho decides to overlook the peculiar crowd and beckons the next customer forward. Seihi steps forward and announces that she will purchase everything, but he instantly recognizes her. She attempts once more with a different disguise, but he insists that he will not sell to Ms. Nam Seihi. Undeterred, she appears again in an adorable costume. But this time, he completely loses his patience. He calls her stubborn and yanks the oversized kitten head off her. Frustrated, she questions why he won't sell her any food. She insists that he should at least give her a chance, even as he questions the foundation of her confidence. Seihi raises her voice and asks what she needs to do, expressing her willingness to do anything. Junho appears to contemplate her words for a moment. Then, without warning, he abruptly pulls her into a hug. She is taken aback by his surprising gesture. Blushing deeply, she begins to panic internally, convinced that she isn't prepared for this kind of moment. She envisions a passionate romantic kiss happening between them at that very moment. She closes her eyes and gathers her resolve, affirming that she is ready for Mr. Junho. Junho stares at her in confusion and asks what Ms. Nam Seihi is doing. It turns out he was simply trying to tie an apron around her waist and has no idea why she is reacting like that. He tells her that if she wants to eat, she must earn it just like everyone else. Eager and energized, she changes outfits and embraces his challenge, excited about the opportunity to collaborate with him. He is once again irritated by her revealing clothes and tells her to put on the apron. She agrees, albeit feeling a bit deflated. At work, he attentively serves customers while someone discreetly takes pictures of her from the sidelines. In one photo, she radiates joy as she attempts to drizzle sauce on a corn dog, but the sauce completely misses its mark. In another instance, she almost causes the fryer to burst into flames, sending Junho into a complete panic. After all the chaos, she finally gets to enjoy a corn dog that she made herself. The last photo captures the two of them at the end of the day, sharing a delightful and heartwarming moment together. It is revealed that Secretary Kim is the one taking the pictures while on the phone with the chairwoman. The expression in the secretary's eyes reveals that she is scheming against the protagonist. The scene now shifts to later. Back at home, his phone buzzes incessantly with notifications. As Junho steps out of the shower, he wonders who could be sending so many messages. Sehye asks him out on a date by sending a picture of herself in an outfit, asking if it's cute. However, he ignores her and leaves all her messages unread. He decides to continue ignoring her, but the phone keeps vibrating incessantly, driving him mad. Frustrated, Junho finally goes to his computer and opens a new email that has just arrived. Upon reading the email, he jumps up from his chair, laptop in hand. At his food truck, he joyfully celebrates winning the auction for the amusement park vendor spot. Soon, he arrives at the park, preparing ice cream with remarkable skill. The swirl of the ice cream, the chocolate syrup, and the bright red cherry look irresistible, becoming the highlight of the dessert. The protagonist then states that everything is ready and that he can finally begin. However, he finds it odd that the amusement park is entirely empty. Things have taken a turn for the worse. Opening time has come and gone, yet not a single customer has shown up. He wonders if the weather is to blame, contemplating the possibility of impending rain. Suddenly, Sehye appears and licks the ice cream he is holding. With a smile, she calls his name and expresses her happiness that he has finally arrived. He is astonished and asks how she was able to locate him. An epiphany occurs in his mind, and he begins to suspect the truth. With narrowed eyes, he inquires whether the amusement park is also part of the SH group. Sehye shakes her head in denial and tells him he is mistaken. She then reveals that no other customers will be coming in today, which infuriates him. She proudly shares that she rented out the entire amusement park just for them. Adds that if she commits to this for the entire month, she will be the only one able to purchase from him. Upon hearing this, he realizes he is completely trapped, and she offers him a triumphant smile. Still holding him by the wrist, she cheerfully instructs him to focus solely on her today. She drags him through the empty park, as if leading him into their own private world. In the distance, Secretary Kim observes the situation and declares that she will intervene on behalf of the chairwoman. However, the chairwoman responds that she will manage the orders personally and instructs Secretary Kim not to interfere. Secretary Kim quietly wonders if she can trust her. Frustrated, Secretary Kim clenches her fist so tightly that she punches the wall, leaving a crack in it. With fierce determination, she declares that she will demonstrate her worth in her own unique way. During a nearby ride, she believes that the protagonist is the source of all their problems, and she believes it is her responsibility to eliminate threats. Determined, she resolves to neutralize the danger before it escalates. She concludes that to eliminate the threat, she must charm him. She remembers spending 5 million won on a professional dating course, and now she feels confident because she has mastered every relationship theory that exists. Meanwhile, the protagonist, completely oblivious, is sweating nervously under her intense gaze. As the ride picks up speed, she emphasizes that the first step is to maintain constant eye contact. As the roller coaster plunges, she stares at him unblinkingly. He screams with excitement as the ride accelerates, while she joyfully laughs and shouts Junho's name with pure delight. During another ride, the secretary grabs him from behind, using her physical touch technique to steal his breath away. However, she has taken the instruction too literally and is choking the poor guy. During the water ride, all three of them get drenched, and the secretary believes her plan is perfect. He exclaims that she is having the time of her life. Afterward, dripping wet, the protagonist sees that he's holding up a photo she captured of that moment. She says it's the perfect time for something she desires and takes his hand. Before long, they arrive dressed in school uniforms for a classic photo shoot at the amusement park. Inside the booth, he leans in to kiss him on the cheek, but he remains expressionless and raises his hand to block it. Her kitten headband gives her the appearance of an adorable predator. Jun-ho is sporting mouse ears. On the taga, he releases the bars and begins clinging to him, bouncing with each swing while unintentionally choking his neck. Jun-ho struggles to catch his breath and mutters that he can't breathe. Upon seeing this, Secretary Kim jumps from her seat and declares that she won't back down. However, when the massive platform descends, she loses her balance. She realizes her mistake in slow motion and she reaches out, calling for Jun-ho to take her hand. The protagonist questions how she can consider herself a bodyguard when she can't even remain upright on a simple ride. Furious, Secretary Kim demands to know what he just said. In her fury, she seizes his arm, and in one swift motion, she flips him over her. She grabs his shoulder and slams him to the ground. Dazed, he asks if she didn't tell him to just hold her hand. The secretary then pulls him close and asks why he seems unaffected by everything. She can't comprehend why her seduction techniques are failing so miserably. She maintains that her theories are flawless and questions what went wrong. With Plan A thwarted, she decides it's time to implement Plan B. Clutching the steering wheel of the ride with all her might, she begins to spin it at full speed. He squeals with delight, relishing the ride's thrilling spin. However, the protagonist becomes dizzy and pleads with her to stop. The plan is straightforward: disorient him and then brainwash him into falling in love with her. The ride spins so violently that it resembles a literal tornado. Jun-ho and Se-hee scream in panic as they are tossed around. Frustrated, the protagonist seizes the secretary's wrists and demands that she cease her madness. Secretary Kim freezes when he suddenly takes her hand. He gazes at her intensely, and she feels her heart race wildly. His firm grip and intense eye contact create an impactful presence. Her own theory backfires spectacularly. She turns bright red and is left speechless by his unexpected touch. He mentions that he feels dizzy, and she starts to wonder if she might be the one falling for him instead. He urges her to let go, but she refuses. He warns her that he will be sick if she keeps it up. She realizes he has almost completely derailed her plan and concludes that he is no ordinary man. Then, she glances sideways, thinking that the young miss absolutely cannot see him in this state. Fortunately, Se-hee's mind was racing, so she didn't notice anything. Secretary Kim supports her and expresses regret for Se-hee's condition. Suddenly, Se-hee's stomach lets out a loud growl. She feels a wave of embarrassment over what just occurred. She urgently tells Secretary Kim that this is embarrassing and suggests she should say it was her stomach that made the noise instead. Jun-ho informs her that he heard what she just said. Secretary Kim agrees to Se-hee's request. She tells Jun-ho that the sound earlier came from her stomach. However, Jun-ho points out that he heard their conversation and that it was clearly Se-hee's stomach making the noise. However, he pauses and concedes to her words as she shoots him a death glare. Se-hee announces that she is going to the bathroom and asks Jun-ho to wait for her. As he waits, Jun-ho grabs a toy gun from a nearby stall. Secretary Kim challenges him to a shooting game and suggests a bet. He casts her a bored glance, clearly lacking interest. He takes aim and asks her what she truly wants from this, as she has been bothering him all along. To be straightforward, the secretary aims her gun and declares that she will be direct. Secretary Kim stands at the shooting range, the shotgun aimed directly at his head. She calmly instructs him to make a choice. He declares that he must either die or fall for her. He stiffens, still gripping the toy gun in his hands. He demands, in utter confusion, to know what she is talking about, noticing that the weapon aimed at him appears different from the others. The secretary responds with a frosty tone, stating that she'll allow him to like her, but only if he keeps his distance from the miss. He rests his gun on his shoulder and mutters that everyone in that family seems eager to be rid of him. He adds that even if they dumped an entire truckload of Nam Se-hee in front of him, she would be utterly useless to him, urging them to just take her away. He begins by stating that he would never want a woman who is solely interested in his truck, but before he can finish, she pulls the trigger. The sudden blast causes him to freeze as sharp pain tears through him, and he wonders in horror if she actually fired a real round. Her anger ignites as she hurls his words back at him, shouting that he claimed he had no use for their message. Junho drops to his knees in agony, clutching his upper arm as he yells that his shoulder hurts intensely. However, when he glances at his shirt, he's astonished to find that nothing seems damaged. She chambers the shotgun and explains that it was loaded with a rubber round intended for riot control. However, she notes that permanently disabling his arm remains a viable option. Leaning in closer, she warns him that this is his final opportunity and then firmly commands him to admit that he likes her. Gazing up at the muzzle, he thinks she's out of her mind. Without hesitation, he bolts, convinced they must escape right away. Sihi appears in the distance, waving cheerfully and calling out for Mr. Junho. He rushes toward her, he pulls her into his arms, offering a stiff apology and asking Ms. Namsihi to forgive him for the unexpected intrusion. She blushes and shakily replies, "Yes." He gasps as he lifts her up, grounds, and carries her away. Secretary Kim shouts that he has taken the miss hostage. She tears off her jacket, showcasing her determination. If she can't have him, she'll make sure to break him instead. Later, within an abandoned school building, Uncle Deok-Chun greets the duo, welcoming them and announcing that they have entered the cursed halls. Though of course they can't see him. In the dimly lit red corridor, Nam Si-hee clings to Junho's arm and asks if he has finally agreed to go on a date with her. She replies that, for now, she just needs to stay close, believing they can hide here and buy some blushing. She softly murmurs her agreement. Above them, a camera rotates. On her tablet, Secretary Kim watches. She commented on the live feed, expressing her disbelief that he willingly entered this place, which she had personally modified earlier. She explains that the haunted house is the park's most famous attraction and mentions that, given her reflexes and athletic ability, it's essentially child's play for her. Yunho mutters that it doesn't seem too bad, does it? Prior to the complete set explodes into chaos. He wonders if they'll make it out alive, as everything feels all too real. Sihi laughs, declaring that it just got even more enjoyable. As 3 arrows are released, directly toward him. Just in time, she crashes into him and she knocks him flat onto the floor. Lying on top of him, she reassures him not to worry and promises to stay close and protect him. Beneath the purple lights, he gazes up at her, sweat trickling down his forehead, realizing that remaining here spells certain death. Elsewhere, Secretary Kim gazes at her tablet, murmuring, "Wait a minute." She insists that something feels off as she watches him protect the miss. A moment later, he lifts C up and they break into a run, a swarm of ghouls thundering behind them. Kim worries that if this continues, Junho will be the only one left to assist Sihi. He picks up a flashlight from the floor. In a different corridor, complete darkness engulfs everything until his torch flickers on. The light reveals a ghost standing in front of him. The sight causes him to recoil, babbling in shock at the apparition. Secretary Kim, dressed as a specter, launches herself toward him, her leg snapping toward his face. He barely jumps back in time as the flashlight cuts wild arcs through the darkness. He stumbles to his feet, holding the light aloft and shouting that this is utterly insane. Meanwhile, Sihi stands to the side, feigning innocence and shock. He sweeps the beam down the hallway in confusion, unsure of where the ghost has vanished. The corridor is filled only with dust and fallen props. As he turns around, he catches a glimpse of the ghost girl diving toward him from above. Sihi notices a red button. Intrigued, she wonders what it does and presses it without hesitation. At that precise moment, just as Secretary Kim is about to reach him, a cage falls from above, trapping them both. They collide in a tangle of limbs and fabric, their screams merging into one. Secretary Kim groans as she opens her eyes, only to find their faces just inches apart, their lips were almost touching. Her thoughts freeze for a moment as she questions whether those are truly his lips. Mortified, she forcefully kicks him away, sending him flying. Her face flushed with anger, she snaps that she's going to kill him. Lying flat on his back, he can only wheeze that he wants to go home. Sihi crouches beside him, beaming as she tells him they don't have time to rest. Before long, they're sprinting once more across the open plaza, with carousel lights spinning wildly around them. Behind them, Secretary Kim rushes after them, slamming a control on her smartwatch and shouting that he won't get away. The digital display flashes, indicating an increase in speed. On the carousel platform, they are finally enclosed by the railing and the wildly spinning lights. He surveys the scene in despair, realizing that the woman is relentless to the very end. He smirks and declares that they are trapped, as he watches her with suspicion, questioning whether she orchestrated all of this. Exhausted, he pleads with her to stop. She smiles brightly and declares that she'll remain by his side for an entire month. With no escape in sight, he asks what he must do to put an end to this madness. As the carousel spins at full speed he leans in closer, just inches from her lips, and whispers that he already knows what she truly desires. But just then, the entire carousel suddenly malfunctions. Manager Kim watches in shock as sparks fly from its structure. She exclaims in shock, instinctively expressing disbelief as her smartwatch flashes red and repeatedly signals an error. The amusement park plunges into darkness as the power goes out. Secretary Kim hurries to the carousel, anxiously shouting to ask if the miss is okay. Moments later, the lights return, and Sihi laughs off the situation, explaining that it startled them and was likely just a brief power outage. But then she looks around and realizes she stands alone on the platform, confusion crossing her face as she wonders where Jun-ho has gone. Then, Jun-ho is already in his truck, slamming down on the accelerator, aware that the penalty for canceling the contract will be severe. But he also realizes he can no longer allow that woman to manipulate him. The memory of being shot sears his mind, and he views it as a stark threat to his life, evidence that Sihi regarded him as a plaything that money could manipulate. He remembers the numerous traps he fell into at the haunted house attraction and her joyful expression amidst all the chaos. Jun-ho refers to her as a devilish woman and, with unwavering determination, asserts that he will never allow her to take his truck. Meanwhile, Uncle Deok-Chun sighs in frustration as Jun-ho shouts for him to watch over him from heaven. High above the city, in a glass-walled office, Manager Kim kneels and apologizes, addressing the woman seated before her as chairwoman. The chairwoman stands by the window, city lights reflecting across half her face, coldly reminding her that she had explicitly warned her not to get involved. Manager Kim pleads for another chance, insisting that she will ensure he never cooks again for the rest of his life. Her eyes blaze red behind her glasses as she asserts that she can do much worse. The refusal is immediate. Sihi's mother, addressing her firmly as Manager Kim, instructs her not to interfere, gripping her jaw and pulling her face close to emphasize the command. The chairwoman explains that they need to ensure he leaves of his own volition. Manager Kim trembles as she listens, beads of sweat forming at her temples. The chairwoman continues, cautioning that if Sihi discovers any interference, she will likely break down once more. The thought evokes the image of a younger Sihi with hollow eyes, and the chairwoman notes that it would be reminiscent of 20 years ago, when Sihi caused her father's death at a blood-splattered crosswalk beneath a red traffic light. That dark memory is suddenly contrasted by a vibrant video frame. She opens her mouth wide, as if preparing to take a bite of the hot dog. Then, with a smile, they wink at the camera while enthusiastically promoting the SH group. In the meantime, Janho's food truck is situated among the university festival booths. Inside, he observes a pepperoni pizza baking, the crust blistering and the cheese bubbling. Once it's completed, he slices it and quietly remarks that it turned out well. Petals float through the air as he contemplates the unfortunate amusement park incident. But at least he secured a spot at the university festival. He scans the crowd and notes that university students evoke old memories. He briefly reflected on a time when he was one of them. He compels himself to pause, reminding himself that this is not the moment to linger on the past. At that moment, a customer requests a slice of pepperoni pizza. Jun-ho replies that it will be just one slice as he turns to serve. Then, mid-motion, she pauses, letting out a small sound of surprise. A familiar young woman steps forward and calls his name, asking if he is Jun-ho Appa. He responds. He recognizes her as Park Yuri and notes that she was once a middle school student, though he quickly corrects himself. I acknowledge that this was years ago. He notes that it feels odd to realize she is already a university student. To him, she still appears the same. Yuri blushes as she watches him, half concealed behind the book pressed to her chest, thinking that Appa hasn't changed at all. Janho gestures to the boy next to her and asks if he is her boyfriend. Yuri panics and quickly denies it, clarifying that he is just a friend, her classmate from the fashion design department, Shin So-hyun. Yanho offers her a slice of the pizza he made and encourages her to give it a try. Yuri hesitates, mentioning that she is on a diet. She will take just one bite. As soon as she takes a bite, she reacts instantly, declaring that it is delicious. Her thoughts dissolve into the savory umami of oil oozing from the salty pepperoni. The fragrant spices meld together, while layers of cheese bind all the flavors into an overwhelming experience. Yuri holds the slice, as if its flavor is tugging at her with invisible strings. She staggers slightly, both thinking and alarmed that the pizza continues to draw her in. She groans, lamenting that she is supposed to be on a diet, yet her body leans forward against her will. The sensation intensifies until her thoughts are completely consumed by the bread. In her mind, the crust transforms into a golden wave, crisp on the outside and soft and dense on the inside. The savory flavor intensifies with each bite. Overwhelmed, she exclaims that it's unfair for bread to taste this good. She turns back to the counter, her cheeks flushed, and excitedly asks Janho Appa how long he has been cooking, declaring that it is unbelievably delicious. Janho smiles from behind the service window and remarks that it's wonderful to see her enjoying her meal so happily. His tone changes as he notes that she eats well, suggesting she has already finished the entire slice. Yuri's determination crumbles immediately, and the thought of dieting disappears as if swept away. Janho glances at her jacket and inquires whether she mentioned being in the fashion design department. He recalls that even then, her drawings would win awards. Yuri brightens and says he remembers. He remembers how she would nag him to buy her meals whenever she won, despite him being a broke university student at the time. In the memory, he laughs awkwardly as she flashes a peace sign next to him. She acknowledges that she was a bit of a brat back then. Yanho responds that he is now simply proud that she is attending the top university in Korea. Propping himself on his elbow, he hands her the pizza boxes and sincerely tells her that she worked very hard. Yuri finds himself getting wet due to his handsome demeanor. At that moment, a voice nearby calls for Yuri and Soo-hyun to hurry. Yuri bows and thanks Janho, expressing that she will enjoy the meal as she lifts the packed boxes. Janho playfully suggests that if she eats it all by herself, she might gain weight. This leaves Yuri feeling extremely embarrassed. As she walks away, cherry blossom petals drift down along her path. She turns with a smile, calls him Appa, and says she will see him again. Yanho watches her leave, feeling a sense of quiet relief. It's great to see that she is doing well. Suddenly, the warmth is interrupted by the vibration of Yuri's phone. A glowing message reflects in her glasses, echoing the command that they must kill, must kill. The ringing stretches on as purple scales appear to close in around Yuri. She pleads in a trembling voice, repeatedly begging to be released. But she snaps back to reality when her friend calls out to her. With a forced smile, she offers her apology and rushes off to class. Later in class, instead of taking notes, she sketches Junho in her notebook. The teacher observes this moment when Yuri calls Junho handsome. The teacher gives a stern reprimand, and the scene transitions to a later time. While walking down the corridor with her friend, she spots something outside the window. It's Junho with his food truck. Yuri smiles at this, not even paying attention to where she's walking. Then, she accidentally bumps into someone and quickly apologizes. Later, we see her applying a Band-Aid to her love-struck forehead. A woman asks what's wrong with her, noting that she's been acting strangely today. Soo-hyun then shares her experience with the food truck guy she met, prompting the woman to ask in surprise if she likes him. Yuri feels embarrassed as the woman insists that she share everything she likes about him from the very beginning. Then, she recalls a memory of Yuri, the first flutter of excitement she experienced back in middle school. Yoonho is her first love, and they were neighbors. In her school uniform, Yuri calls out to Junho, who notices her, and hands her a piece of candy. Yuri's heart flutters. Every time they meet, Junho always brings her a treat. As she eats the candy, and he playfully teases her that she'll get fat. Flustered, Yuri lightly hits him, retorting that he's the one who always gives her candy. Junho laughs, and she turns her gaze away, candy still in her mouth. These little flutters built up, filling her heart. During Christmas, the streets are filled with couples walking hand in hand, carrying gifts. Yuri stands alone outside the apartment. Junho arrives and asks what she's doing out in the cold. She extends a gift and says she wanted to give him a Christmas present. Junho responds by suggesting that she should give those things to her boyfriend instead of him. Yuri shyly averts her gaze. Junho is left feeling confused. She bravely takes his hand and says, "Appa, I'm currently a high school student, and in just 3 years I'll be attending university. When I attend university, can I share my thoughts with you?" Junho gazes at her in silence, and then she bursts out laughing. Yuri, feeling embarrassed, responds that this is too much. Junho gently places his snowbuds on her ears and says, Sorry, is it okay?" Yuri thinks to herself, "Yeah, it's natural to have a crush on the boy next door." He entered the apartment and said, "Just focus on studying and don't catch a cold." As he left, she dropped to her knees, overwhelmed. Lying in the snow, a loving smile spread across her face as she whispered a Merry Christmas to Junho. The scene shifts to her room, where she stitches a t-shirt that reads, Deok-Chun, reminding herself to be brave. However, he vanished unexpectedly one day. Deok-Chun remains her first love. It seems she plans to give him the newly designed t-shirt when she finally confesses her feelings. The scene then shifts to a later time, where Yuri captures Junho's attention by offering him a drink and asks if they can talk for a moment. This time, she's wearing shorts, likely to entice him and finally reveal her feelings. They both sit on the bench as the sun sets. Junho comments that it gets chilly at night, and Yuri agrees. It seems that Junho noticed her legs, which is why he mentioned the cold. Yuri sets the wrapped gift on the bench and asks if he has hearing. He reflects on it. With SH Group always watching his food truck, he has no time for distractions like girlfriends. Yuri, filled with suspense, asks once more if he doesn't have a girlfriend. Junho confirms that he doesn't. Then she stands up bravely, concealing the gift behind her. She declares that she is now a university student. Junho looks up, puzzled. She holds out the gifts and stutters, struggling to find the right words. She then bravely confesses her love for him. But before she could finish her sentence, a helicopter appeared above her and drowns her words in the wind. They both look up in astonishment. We see Si-hee waving at Junho while calling him Deok-Chun. Upon noticing her, Yuri feels confused. Junho is tense as this crazy woman has found him once more. As Si-hee eagerly calls out for Deok-Chun, Yuri struggles to comprehend why Si-hee and Junho are acting like a couple. Si approaches him for a hug and exclaims, "Mr. Deok-Chun, how did you get here? It must be fate." Junho raises his hands as she hugs him tightly, pressing her body against him in excitement. Witnessing this display of intimacy, Yuri gasps and drops the gift to the ground in shock. Junho asks how she discovered this place, and Si explains that it is the graduate school she attends. Yuri's face turns pale as she inquires about their relationship. Se-hee confidently announces their engagement. Yuri gasps in disbelief and murmurs that he doesn't have a girlfriend, but rather a fiancé. She inquires about the name Deok-Chun and wonders if he has changed it. Junho rubs his temple in frustration and remarks that it's a long story, but ultimately, it's all nonsense. Upon hearing this, Yuri catches her breath and asks, "Right? It's a joke, isn't it?" However, Si then reveals that it's not a joke and inquires if there is any reason this relationship might not succeed. Then she moves closer to Yuri and inquires if she might have feelings for Mr. Deok-Chun. This causes Yuri to freeze, as she can no longer find the courage to confess. Junho then interjects, "Nam Si, you're spouting nonsense again today. I moved when I was in university and she was in middle school. Since we were neighbors, we often met and became close." Yuri then thinks to herself that she already knows this, so she begs him not to say those words. However, her heart shatters as he speaks. He confesses that she feels like a little sister to him. His sincere words pierce straight through her chest. The story they alone share, the distance between them, and of all people, it's Nam Se-hee. This frustrates Yuri. With a shaky voice, she mutters, "I'll leave first because of that assignment. See you later, Appa." She then runs away, leaving Junho with Si-hee. The scene shifts to the following day, where we find Junho's cat near his food truck at the university. With a puppy-like expression, Sehee says she's hungry. Junho lifts a slice of pizza and asks if she enjoys it. She responds that she once had pizza at a 3-star Italian gourmet restaurant, but she didn't enjoy the flavor. Junho crosses his arms and remarks that she has never truly had a good pizza. Sei, feeling excited, urges him to make her a delicious one. However, Junho has a different plan. He hands her an apron, and she questions whether she really has to work for it. He responds, "It's all about you." She then remarks on how pretty her eyes and nose are, continuing to compliment her, while our boy grows increasingly fed up with her antics. He then instructs her to concentrate, explaining that pizza begins with the dough, but they will be using fermented dough. Sehee nibbles on an ingredient, prompting Junho to scold her. He starts by sprinkling flour over the dough and spins it for even distribution. Meanwhile, Sehee playfully pokes a hole in her dough. Junho helps her, explaining that stretching dough by hand is trickier than it looks. Sehee blushes at their close proximity. He then asks about the next step, leans in closer to her face, and then demonstrates the next step as he spins the dough into the air. He explains that utilizing centrifugal force helps spread the dough more evenly. A group of women gathers around the truck, recording Junho's impressive pizza-making skills. Then, he encourages Sehee to give it a try, but when she does, all the ingredients go flying everywhere. Next, they add the toppings and bake the pizza for 10 minutes. The bacon potato pizza with extra mayonnaise is ready. Sehee takes a bite, savoring the fluffy, chewy dough that surrounds the flavorful bacon and wedge potatoes, complemented by the tangy acidity and spicy kick of the special tomato sauce. In the end, the cheese and mayonnaise blend everything together. It feels like I'm betraying my body, but the dopamine just keeps coming. It's incredibly satisfying. At that moment, she asks Junho to look at her, and we see her playing around with the cheese again. He lets out a sigh, and at that moment, someone else requests a slice of potato pizza. He quickly packs a slice and mentions that it's perfect timing since they just baked it. He then informs her that it will cost 30,005 won. The woman asks if he is really going to charge her as well. Junho looks confused, and the woman with a smile calls him by name. Junho is taken aback to discover that the woman before him is Park Yuri. Sehee grips Junho's arm and comments that this is the same woman she saw yesterday. Yuri glares at Sehee, determined not to let her steal her oppa away. Junho apologizes, explaining that he didn't recognize her because she has changed so much. She twirls her hair and shyly asks if it's too short and strange. However, Junho tells her she looks pretty, leaving Yuri flustered and feeling that it's unfair, as he acts as if it's no big deal. Meanwhile, Sehee asks Junho if she looks pretty today, but he bluntly replies that she does not. Yuri gets angry that Sehee is trying to spoil the mood. She pulls Junho's arm closer to her chest and assures him that she'll help. But Sehee echoes this sentiment, stating that she excels at this far more than Yuri does. Just then, Secretary Kim appears behind her and reminds her that she has a meeting with her academic advisor. Sehee cries out for Junho as the secretary takes her away. Meanwhile, Yuri happily waves goodbye to Sehee as she now has Junho all to herself. Junho then tells her he'll pay her in pizza, to which she replies that he should stop joking around. He pokes her nose, insisting that he means it and that the decision rests with the owner. Yuri's nose gets stained by the flour on her glove, and she mentions that she spent a lot on her makeup today. Upon hearing this, Junho becomes concerned. She reaches up to brush it off her nose. However, then she smirks mischievously and buries his face in the flour-filled tray. His face has turned as white as a flower, with it covering him completely. Yuri jokes that his makeup looks fantastic. She playfully holds up the cloth and says, "Come here, powder monster, I'll brush it off." She gently wipes his face. She curiously asks about his ideal type. He reveals that he has never truly considered it. However, he experiences an epiphany, convincing himself that he is drawn to everything that contrasts with Sehee. He answers Yuri's question by saying, "I suppose I prefer short hair and bright colors. I'm not a fan of very pale skin either. Above all, someone who lives sincerely on their own, without relying on money or connections." Junho then thinks to himself that as long as it's not Nam-sei, he's okay with it. He then asks why Yuri suddenly inquired about his ideal type. She throws the cloth over his face and tells him to wait a moment. She realizes that her hair is short and brightly colored. She's nor pale skin either. She is someone who works diligently on her own. She comes to understand that she is his ideal type. With a warm smile, she begins to say that he is her type. However, her words are interrupted when a mysterious man claims he has found her. Yuri freezes when the man places his hand on her shoulder and calls her name. I believe this mysterious man is the same one we encountered earlier. Yuri felt a surge of fear as she read the message on her phone. Junho removes the towel from his face and inquires whether Yuri was saying something. But his words fade away when he notices a man standing right next to her. Junho inquires about the identity of the man. The long-haired man casually responds that he is Yuri's boyfriend, wrapping an arm around her as he remarks that she appears to have become prettier during his absence. Yuri calls him Taiwan and tells him to stop, reminding him that they have already broken up. Taiwan grabs her face and questions why she believes she can make that decision on her own, noting that he was just joking around anyway. Yuri pleads with him to stop, her voice quivering as she appears on the verge of tears. Suddenly, Taiwan lets out a scream, and Yuri's eyes widen in shock. Junho is gripping Taiwan by the ears, yanking them hard as Taiwan shouts at him to let go. Junho calmly explains that he's just pulling on his ears to hear better since he clearly appears to have difficulty listening. He then pushes Taiwan aside and tells him to leave, stating that he has crossed the line. Taiwan responds sharply, questioning why Junho is meddling in someone else's affairs and speaking out. Junho glances at Yuri as crying. He pulls her closer and declares that he is her boyfriend, Yuri. She stares at him in shock, her face a picture of confusion. Taiwan scoffs and questions how Yuri could dare to meet another man. Junho steps in front of her once more and tells Taiwan to leave, warning him that next time, it won't just be a warning. Onlookers begin filming the scene, with some whispering that Taiwan is the fourth-year representative from the media department. Recognizing the attention, Taiwan turns away, stating that Yuri will come to regret this, telling her to be patient and observe. Junho seems ready to chase after him and throw a punch. Suddenly, Yuri hugs him tightly from behind, repeatedly apologizing. Junho gently takes her hands away and he leans in closer, gently wiping the tears from her face as he reassures her that she has nothing to apologize for and that she did nothing wrong. Yuri feels embarrassed, questioning why that man had to show up at this precise moment. She hugs Junho once more and admits that she can't help but like him even more. Just then, someone calls out to her. Yuri recognizes the voice as one of her friends and asks what is happening. At the same time, she becomes aware of how close she is to Junho and, without thinking, she suddenly knees him in the face. Blood begins to trickle as Junho protests that she was the one who hugged him first. Yuri quickly apologizes, explaining that she was startled, and begins to wipe his blood. Junho tells her to use just one tissue since they are expensive. She peeks out from the food truck and asks her friends to wait a moment. They respond that it is urgent and pertains to their department. Yuri hurries toward the department, unaware of why Junho decides to follow her. One of the members explains that Taiwan has just reduced its funding for snack ingredients, and I inform them that Yuri must apologize to him in person if they want the money returned. Others express their frustration, claiming this situation ruins everything. They argue that they can't sell anything today, will have to pay out of pocket, and question why they must suffer due to Yuri's actions. Yuri apologizes once more and assures that she will find a way to resolve it by speaking with them. Junho inquires if the ingredients they already possess are insufficient, subtly slipping into their stall as he speaks. Yuri asks what he is referring to. The others explain that these are leftovers from the previous day food they were unable to sell. Junho ties a headband around his forehead, and they ask why they are just standing there and urge them to get ready to sell. Before long, a large crowd gathers in front of the stall. The food begins to sell out quickly. Later that night, Yuri praises Junho for his performance and inquires about his magic. He explains that while festival stalls typically offer the same items, fish cakes, sundaes, sausages, rolled omelets, and chicken skewers, a small twist can create something fresh. For example, he transforms a traditional kimchi pancake by adding bacon and cheese before grilling. Creates a delightful blend of sweet and salty flavors. Bacon, cheese, and kimchi pancake, along with a pancake made of condensed milk, cheese, and corn. One of Yuri's friends calls out to inquire if the food for table 39 is ready. Yuri responds that she is bringing it right now. As she takes the dishes away, she glances back and smiles, expressing her gratitude to Junho once more. Junho wonders if he was meant to be anywhere but at his own stall. However, after witnessing Yuri's smile was one of satisfaction. As customers leave, he concedes to himself that it wasn't so bad after all. A suspicious man watches Yuri's stall. Junho says he is going to the restroom. Just a few seconds after he departs, Taewon quietly enters the kitchen. Concealing his face, he asks how Yuri can smile so brightly. He examines the ingredients and remarks that Yuri brought this upon herself. Then, he quietly sprays something over the food. Taewon jolts as he brushes past someone while leaving. When he turns, Junho spots him and takes off running. Junho catches a fleeting glimpse of his silhouette. He swiftly turns to the pot and understands what has occurred. He ran out to catch the culprit, but that cowardly bastard had merged with the crowd. Back at the stall, Yuri glances up from her work and asks Junho what's wrong. His jaw tightens as he informs her that the jerk tampered with the batter. Yuri stiffens and cautiously asks if he means what she thinks he does. Junho has confirmed it. He picks up a jar and explains that chili powder was added to the kimchi pancake mix. Yuri gazes at the red speckled batter and exhales, realizing it was chili powder after all. Anger simmers within Junho as he contemplates how petty the man must be, questioning whether that was truly the best revenge he could devise. She emphasizes that it's still a significant issue since those were their last ingredients. She questions how they are supposed to handle something that already appears painfully spicy. Junho's arm tenses as he declares that Taewon has crossed a line by tampering with food, brandishing a kitchen knife. Yuri quickly urges him to calm down. He lowers his gaze beneath his headband, silently vowing not to let this go unaddressed. Outside, Taewon tips back a can. He drinks deeply, cold liquid spilling down his chin. He mutters that it feels refreshing and she gazes at the illuminated food stalls, pondering why Junho hasn't closed up yet. A sense of dread washes over her. He creeps in, hoping that Junho isn't actually selling that food. The response is swift and intense. Faces contort in agony as people cough, thrash, and cry out. Someone pleads for assistance. Another person demands to know what kind of food this is. Someone sobs for their mother, while another shouts into a phone asking if this is an emergency. Someone screams that they can't see. Taewon recoils in shock, believing that Junho truly sold out and calling him insane. His shock quickly transforms into a grin. He realizes this is even better and tells himself to enjoin Ho get destroyed. Inside the stall, Yuri covers her mouth, her eyes trembling as she calls out Junho's name and asks what they should do while the crowd descends into chaos. A brief silence descends like a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Before it shatters, a glass slams down, and someone loudly demands attention. Suddenly, bottles are lifted and voices call out for more beer. The food truck area buzzes with noise and laughter, while Junho's stall stays crowded. Taewon gazes through the crowd, disbelief morphing into anger. He mutters, "Why?" under his breath. Internally seething as Junho's business inexplicably flourishes, he hears overlapping voices around him. People announce a new menu item, complain about seating, and urge one another to squeeze together. Inside the stall, Junho leans in close to Yuri and quietly asks how it looks. She jumps in surprise. He crosses his arms and smiles reassuringly, reminding her that he had advised her not to worry. Yuri laughs awkwardly and asks how he pulled it off this time, quickly clarifying that he doesn't actually possess any magic. Junho asks her if she's curious. He believes that if it was going to be spicy regardless, they might as well fully commit. He decides to make it even spicier by adding more of the delicious chicken sauce that leaves them craving drinks. After a moment, he hints that there's one more secret ingredient. Yuri picks up a piece with chopsticks and takes a bite. Heat erupts instantly. Her face flushes as she recoils, screaming that there's a fire and pleading for help. However, once dipped into the rich special mayo sauce, the heat settles beautifully. Confusion ensues as her cravings intensify and her thoughts scream that stopping is impossible. The special mayo sauce consists of 6 parts mayo, 2 parts sugar, 1 part lemon juice, 3 parts soda, and a pinch of salt. At nearby tables, customers vie for the dish like wild animals. One pleads for a bite, while another growls protectively. The name spreads amid the frenzy. Junho's kimchi pancake with chonyang chili and special mayo sauce. Yuri watches, her breath caught. She realizes that when she's with Junho, the world feels less intimidating, as if she can accomplish anything. Her thoughts slip out as she mutters that she likes him. Junho's expression turns serious as he inquires about what transpired with the man earlier. Yuri explains that he wasn't always this way. She recalls him smiling warmly, someone who reached out when she felt out of place. Then his jealousy intensified as she started to connect with others. In the end, she brought it to a close. The humiliation may have affected him more than the breakup, as it was during this time that the bullying started. In the present, Yuri strengthens her resolve, declaring that she can no longer endure it. She reflects on her desire to reveal her true self, beyond just her appearance. She wipes her watery eyes with her gloved hand, lamenting how spicy the chilies are. Junho springs into action, seizing her wrist and cautioning her against touching her eyes. She gazes up at him, torn between pain and relief, and softly whispers his name. Yuri waves her hands and screams that his hands are contaminated as well. Junho acknowledges this and apologizes. Nearby, people whisper excitedly, speculating about what is happening between them and whether they are dating. At a cluttered table, Taiwan leans forward, drunkenly slurring that he is dating. He bitterly vows to see how Yuri manages without him. The crowd erupts in surprise. People squeal, teasing Yuri about her taste and acknowledging that Junho is handsome. Questions arise about his age and marital status, with jokes about whether he might be divorced. Yuri blushes deeply, hiding her face as she contemplates her next move. She pulls his arm closer to her chest and apologizes, asking what they should do next. Junho confesses that he initiated the lie and murmurs that it's gone too far. He pours drinks calmly, raises his voice, and reassures everyone to relax, acknowledging their questions. He announces an after-party and promises if they win a drinking game, affectionately referring to them as Little Sprouts. The chant erupts suddenly as people shout for everyone to drink. The game intensifies with rhythmic chants. Junho maintains his pace effortlessly, impressing everyone as the rounds accumulate. His opponent recognizes that Junho has endured 16 rounds and is indeed a social butterfly. Frustration mounts as they propose the king's game, eager to catch him. Sticks are drawn, and the command is issued. Numbers 1 and 3 must kiss. Junho attempts to speak while holding stick number 1, but is interrupted as people demand to know the identity of number 3. Yuri gazes at her stick, heart racing. She reminds herself that it's just a game. Yuri freezes as her eyes fixate on her stick marked with a bold 2. A jolt of confusion surges through her when a sudden kiss-like sound echoes right beside her ear. Her thoughts scatter as she turns her head toward the noise, attempting to spot the woman who had the audacity to steal a kiss from Junho. It was none other than Nam Se-hee. Who stole a kiss from Junho? Yuri gazes at them in silence. Junho pulls away from the kiss, wipes his mouth, and asks what she's doing there. She taps the sticks against his face as she says, "How rude! It's the king's order." It seems that Nam Se-hee is the one who had number 3, the winning number. The customers are taken aback, asking who she is and whether they had someone like her in their class. They begin to suspect that something unusual is happening between Junho and the enigmatic woman. I wonder how Park Yuri feels about this, even if it's just a game. Junho sighs and tells Se-hee that he doesn't want to get involved with her, so she should stop now. Se-hee playfully holds her cap, saying that if she reveals her identity here, news articles will be published right away. Junho takes a sip of his drink and asks if she's an elementary school student for making such a big deal over one kiss. Se-hee leans closer to his ear and whispers that this is the first kiss of Nam Se-hee, the second-generation chaebol. Junho spits out his drink in shock at the revelation. He wipes his mouth and asks if it's true. She buries his face in her soft, squishy chest, remarking that he looks adorable when flustered. Junho mutters that they'll be caught if they continue at this pace. Se grabs him by the arm and suggests that they should run away. Yuri, wearing a dark expression, pours alcohol into her glass, while silently thinking of Nam Se-hee. Even a woman would say she is beautiful and wealthy. She lacks nothing. I shouldn't let myself get discouraged. I can't allow this to slip away. I've come to like him too much. Yuri confronts Nam Se-hee and instructs her to wait behind. Se-hee turns to her with a cold expression, reminiscent of her mother's demeanor. C approaches her and says, "Just so you know, I'm good at fighting. I represented the school in fencing, have a level 3 certification in dressage for horse riding, and I'm also a certified yoga instructor, among other things." C assumes a boxing stance, and her ghostly uncle encourages her, promising to watch over her. The scene shifts to later, where they find themselves in a dimly lit classroom filled with mannequins. C questions, "Why are we in such a suspicious place? A school at night feels like it could be haunted." She crosses her arms and asks, "What business do you have with her?" Yuri quickly turns to her with a combative expression, the light from her phone flashing on Se-hee's face. Se-hee shields her eyes from the blinding light, shouting that she is cowardly. She then partially opens her eyes and says it's an ambush. Yuri's phone contains several thirst trap pictures. Se-hee exclaims that she's caught her off guard with Mr. Deok-Chun's collection of 205 photos. She grabs the phone and gazes at the images, expressing that her heart is aching. With a nosebleed and a trembling hand, she suggests that she will purchase it for 1 billion won. Yuri is taken aback by the amount. She states that she won't be selling it, but then her eyes widen as Se-hee raises the offer, stating that she'll pay 1 billion won for each photo. Yuri begins to think that since there are over 100 photos of Junho, it might be significant. However, she slaps herself in an effort to regain her composure. She turns to Se-hee and says she will give him all the photos, but she has a favor to ask. Se-hee's curious about the request for a favor. Yuri opens the curtain, remarking that she should put on her work attire. A sophisticated-looking dress is showcased on the mannequin. Outside, an announcement states that the pride of Manhwa University, the fashion design department, will soon host a runway show. The students are directed to move to the front of the stage. Junho is interested in this event now. The scene shifts back to Yuri. With a somber expression, she says, "I want to show it to Appa to see my work being shared. If you wear it, it will shine even brighter." However, Se steps closer and says, "I don't want to." Yuri, her voice trembling, replies, "Namsi, you have it all. But for me, this is everything I possess." So, but before she can finish her sentence, Se-hee winks and says, "That's why I don't want to wear it. If someone who has everything also takes this outfit, it's unfair. I want to earn Mr. Deok-Chun through my own efforts too." She then tucks her hair behind her head and she hugs Yuri and encourages her to show it herself. She holds Yuri up to a mirror, encouraging her to reveal her true brilliance. The scene now shifts to the runway event. The announcer calls out to Park Yuri to present her work. Yuri feels anxious as her vision begins to blur. She wonders if she can truly accomplish it. At that moment, Tae-won emerges from the shadows and asks what she's up to. Startled, she refers to him as Senior. He pins her against the wall and says, "Don't act so high and mighty. Do you believe you can be anything? You'll soon understand. I was so miserable because of you." Yuri turns away, sadness in his eyes as he walks off with a satisfied grin, knowing he has successfully shattered her confidence. He laughs, remarking that he'll watch her get trampled by mockery and ridicule. The announcer then calls on Yuri to present her work, and she hesitantly steps outside, inwardly lamenting, "What if I ruin my work because of him?" As everyone gazes at her intensely, she can no longer bear it. She covers her face as tears threaten to fall, but then she hears someone whistling and calling her name. In surprise, she gazes up at them, and she sees Junho and Se-hee cheering for her. Yuri is moved by the support, and her body begins to move on its own. She's heading down the path where her Appa is, no longer feeling scared. However, she's taken aback when she sees him giving a thumbs up while wearing the hood she designed. Joy fills her as she thinks, "It's the gift I couldn't give back then. Did he bring it? This is overwhelming. Always being kind while setting boundaries, referring to me as a younger sibling. Appa crossed the line first. Hesitating, waiting, timing. She removes her high heels and runs toward Junho, silently reflecting on the countless words left unspoken. The time has come to start. Now, let's bring this to a close. All this bittersweet, unrequited love. The audience gives her fashion design a perfect score as she leaps off the stage, and she runs toward her Appa, eager to share something important. The words that have been tangled up in her chest for quite a long time. With a loving smile, she approaches to hug and says, "I like you." But then she feels confused as her face presses against something soft and squishy. It was Nam Se-hee. Startled, Se-hee asks if she likes her. Yuri looks up, puzzled. She glances around, wondering where Appa is. Se-hee turns around and says he's right there. However, to her surprise, Ki and his truck were missing. Both women squeal in frustration at his escape once more. The scene transitions to the following day. Junho is driving his truck, reflecting that Go Deok-Chun's food truck has already gained fame in Seoul. It's the culmination of Uncle Deok-Chun's lifelong dedication. My role is to promote this name across the country. The first step is Ganwon-do. The scene shifts to some time later, where a crowd of elderly individuals is gathered, observing his food truck. They mention that a young guy is making something with makgeolli. Just so you know, makgeolli is a type of rice wine. Yunho shakes the bottle of wine, prompting the elderly person to remark that it might explode at this rate. But Junho doesn't mind. He lifts the lid, and it squirts everywhere. The elderly remark that they warned him it would explode. However, Junho assures them not to worry and pours it directly into the ice shredder. It scatters the wine upwards, and he cools off while muttering that it's nice weather for this kind of day. He then presents a cup of shaved ice topped with makgeolli. The elderly find it intriguing. Junho explains his process for creating it. The snowflake ice is made by combining makgeolli and milk in a 2-to-1 ratio, then topped with sweet red beans. It was then finished with acacia honey and powdered sugar for added fragrance and sweetness. And just like that, the makgeolli red bean shaved ice is ready. An elderly person commented that the makgeolli flavor is quite strong and pleasant. The second person is surprised that you can enjoy makgeolli-flavored shaved ice as a snack while sipping on makgeolli. The third elder gives a thumbs up, stating that as it melts, it naturally transforms into red bean makgeolli. With pride, Junho taps his food truck and asks everyone to help spread the word about Go Deok-Chun's food truck. At that moment, a child calls out to him, asking for a serving of red bean shaved ice. Junho gently pats the child's head and says that kids aren't allowed to eat this. At that moment, he hears a familiar voice promoting an unforgettable experience with SH Airlines. He realized that it was Nam Se-hee. He thought she was likely tearing through the seal right now, and that there was no way she would have come all the way to Gangwon-do. Junho silently challenges her to go ahead and try to find him. Meanwhile, Se-hee gazes downward as the sky lies beneath her. She leaps from the plane and dives directly toward her target. She prepares to deploy the parachute, and we see her with a wild expression, shouting Deok-Chun's name. Junho is taken aback by the voice, and he looks around in disbelief, convinced that he has been harassed to the point of hallucination. He reassures himself that she won't just appear out of nowhere, but, to his dismay, she lands on him with a hug, saying that she's here. Junho is taken aback as she leans in for a kiss. In the next moment, he transforms her into a gimbap by wrapping the parachute around her. He asks how she discovered this place, and she giggles, replying that it's a secret. She shifts her focus and inquires about what he's selling this time. He remembers that it's shaved ice, but he decides not to give her any. He proceeds to explain the main ingredient. However, Se-hee takes a bite and exclaims that it's delicious, sweet, and refreshing. Suddenly, her vision blurs, and she asks why Mr. Deok-Chun resembles a squid. She feels dizzy as she admits that she's not supposed to eat makgeolli. Junho asks if she's okay, noting that he doesn't resemble a squid. Se-hee clings to Junho with a flushed expression, and he mutters that he's doomed. She falls to the floor and mutters, "Even your methods of sabotaging my business are creative. You ate that on purpose, didn't you?" Se-hee extends her hand, revealing her bleeding wound. Startled, he rushes her to a clinic, where the doctor advises her to keep it dry and be careful while washing. After leaving, a heavy silence lingers. Worried, Se-hee apologizes for interrupting his work. Junho scoffs. It's fine. If someone goes to such lengths to sabotage, it deserves some praise. He thinks to himself, injury fraud. She's planning to sue me and take my truck. But with injuries this minor, proving her case will be difficult. I need to keep her close and monitor her hands to prevent her from pulling off a bigger scam, no matter the cost. Now, both of them are standing in front of room 209. He sheepishly mentions the hospital bills and lodging, apologizing for having thrown away her wallet and phone, which prevents her from confirming anything. She then asks if this is her room, but Jun-ho grips the handle, saying no, and that they are sharing a room together. The scene now shifts to some time later, where Jun-ho is taking a shower. As Si-hee fidgets on the bed, she thinks, sharing a room? With Mr. Deok-Chun, who has always pushed me away. His sudden change suggests he might finally have feelings for me. But what caused this shift? She remembers the kiss she shared with Jun-ho at the festival. She flops onto the bed, wondering why she's feeling so embarrassed now that Jun is here. Jun-ho calls out to her, but his voice is drowned out by her thoughts. She reflects that her feelings have finally reached him, and it feels like a dream. Despite his repeated calls, she remains silent. As she turns, she's surprised to find him on top of her, instructing her to go wash up. In the bathroom, she brushes her teeth, reminding herself to come down since they are just sharing a room. However, she envisions that they might do something, engaging in activities together. She covers her face in embarrassment, admitting that she's extremely nervous and unsure of what to do next. She then chooses to act normally, cracking jokes as she usually does to lighten the mood. As Jun-ho wipes his body, she calls out to him, "Mr. Deok-Chun, my hands hurt. Could you help me wash them?" Meanwhile, she believes he'll become flustered and yell, thinking he won't take her joke seriously. However, to her surprise, he agrees to wash her body. Si-hee is taken aback. She had intended to tease him, never expecting him to agree so readily. She quickly realizes that this is not going as planned. The scene transitions to the skies where a plane is soaring. Chief Kim's subordinate informs her that Ms. Nam Si-hee's current location is over Gangwon-do and that they have acquired the signal. Kim holds her earbud, recalling that she had planted tracking chips in all her clothes for emergencies like this. At that moment, she hears Jun-ho agreeing to wash up Nam Se-hee through her earpiece. Kim leaps from the plane, soaring swiftly through the sky. She feels a surge of anger as she listens to the transmission in which Si-hee comments, in a lustful tone, about his own skills. She thinks to herself, "This son of a bitch." The investigation reveals that the name Go Deok-Chun is an alias, and he is confirmed to have approximately 200 million won in debt. In other words, like the others who approached her, he's only after her money. He's thorough, meticulous, and undeniably attractive. She quickly reminds herself to snap out of it, even as she thinks, "He's a beast of a man who managed to charm me when I was off guard." Our innocent heroine stood no chance. Just as Kim arrives at the motel, she crashes through the window, resolute to protect Nam Se-hee. She removes her gliding suit and readies for battle. Meanwhile, the ghost rushes toward the door to warn them, but it was too late. She had already entered the bathroom. Then she sees he lying on his back as he washes her hair with shampoo and massages her scalp. Si-hee moans, expressing how good it feels. She relaxes, inwardly noting that his broad back and firm muscles create a stable, comfortable angle. His touch is as gentle and soothing as if he's preparing a meal on my scalp. It's a 5-star experience, and I rate it 5 stars. Si-hee is gazing in delight, and Kim calls out to her in confusion. Si-hee snaps back to reality and recognizes who it is. The scene now transitions to a later time. Jun-ho dries her hair thoroughly, and she shyly asks if he could do it every day. Upon hearing this, Kim erupts in anger, calling Jun-ho a crazy bastard and accusing him of oogling her hair. She then holds Nam Se-hee, asking if she's okay. Se-hee cheerfully replies that she feels refreshed. Se-hee examines her injured hand, realizing she needs to conceal it from Kim. However, Jun-ho, noticing this, grabs her hand, prompting her to look up in surprise. Her small hand is enveloped by his large, masculine one, and her heart raced as their eyes locked. "Kim." She pushes him away, her hands roaming over his body as she demands he let go of Si-hee immediately, offering her hands instead. However, Jun-ho declines and, more importantly, asks. It's unclear whether her family knows how to use a door. She has even damaged his house, and now the motel. Kim adjusts her glasses and, surveying the wreckage, declares that the SH Group will personally cover the costs. Jun-ho asks her why, if she's so concerned about Si-hee, she hasn't kept her locked up. Why let things escalate to this point? Kim leans in close and mutters, 3 minutes. Junho is left puzzled by his words. She gestures to his head, indicating that it takes exactly 3 minutes for a kidnapper of Miss to be shot dead. His eyes then widen. She tilts her head, inquiring if he truly understands what she means, and in the next moment, multiple lasers appear. He pointed at Junho, indicating that the snipers were prepared to take action. Meanwhile, Si-hee gazes up at her like a child, as if she hasn't done anything wrong. Kim gently pats her head and reassures her that she won't have to worry as long as she doesn't disappear without letting anyone know. He apologizes, explaining that she left because it felt too suffocating. At that moment, Si-hee's stomach growled, prompting Kim to quickly pull her close and tell Junho it was not Si-hee but her stomach making the noise. Junho sighed and suggested they should eat now. The scene shifts to some time later where Junho is busy preparing a delicious meal. Spotting the pan, Si-hee exclaims in excitement, asking if he's making stir-fried spicy chicken. Ho asks if she has never tried stir-fried spicy chicken and wonders what on earth she eats. Finally, he finishes cooking and tells her to dig in, but he hesitantly raises her hand to remind everyone about her injury. Junho realizes she is doing this intentionally. With no other options remaining, he decides to give her something to eat. Si-hee blushes, believing he's being straightforward. She happily eats it, thanking him. As the food touches her tongue, she beams internally, saying the juices from the chicken thigh burst forth, mingling with the sauce, while the cabbage adds a satisfying crunch. The rich, concentrated flavor of the red chili paste sauce caramelized in the pan, drawing me back in without pause. Just like Mr. Deok-Chun, this dish is extremely dangerous. She imagines a different scenario in her mind, where she asks him what he's trying to do, but Junho firmly tells her to remain silent and follow his instructions. She carefully wraps the cheese around the chicken, bringing it to her lips, her breath shallow and her tongue tingling in anticipation of the heat and richness he will offer. Suddenly, she returns to reality, holding out an empty salad, fumbling her words as she urges him to join her. Junho responds that if she's feeding him, she should add some meat. She shoves it into his mouth, urging him to just eat it already because it's embarrassing. She lowers her head, acknowledging that she has always meddled in his business and caused trouble. She then asks why he is being so nice all of a sudden. Junho wipes his mouth with a napkin as he tells Riz that he will do whatever it takes to protect what is dear to him. Si-hee misinterprets his words, believing he is referring to her as someone precious to him. With a warm smile, she calls out to Mr. Deok-Chun, expressing her happiness. Junho narrows his eyes, silently thinking, "Nam Si-hee, that devilish woman exploits my weaknesses without a second thought, making, I will feed her. I wash her. I don't mind being treated like a toy. I will protect my truck at all costs, so bring it on. I'm ready for whatever you have." He then suggests that they should get married right away. Our guy thinks she might not want to bring everything she has. At that moment, they heard a stomach growl and exchanged confused glances. Kim reveals the truth, and Junho responds that this time it's for real. He offers her some food, expressing that he feels bad they are the only ones eating. The food is oddly shaped like a heart, as they both took only a small portion. However, Kim misinterprets the situation, believing he's a beastly man for attempting to flirt with fried rice. She questions why he gave it to her, asking what he wants. He bluntly responds that she should just go home already. With a blush, she holds the spoon to his neck, stuttering as she asks if he's trying to get himself killed. Misunderstanding his words once more, she calls him a punk and questions what he's doing to their house. At that moment, she receives an urgent message about the chairwoman through her earpiece, leaving her speechless. The scene then transitions outdoors. A stage is set up featuring Deok-Chun's food truck competing against SH Group's melamine products, attracting a crowd of reporters. The arrival of Deok-Chun prompts everyone to request a statement from him. They bombard him with questions, asking if it's true that he is the executive chef of SH Foods, Melamine. Junho is unsure how to respond to the barrage of questions about his confidence as a 3-star Glomang chef. He asks them to clarify what they are discussing. Then, they reveal that if he loses, SH will take his name and all his recipes, asking if he's okay with that. Si-hee is stunned, while Jun-ho stands frozen, questioning their words. Meanwhile, a mysterious woman appears beside a luxurious vehicle. The chairwoman opens the shutter saying, "Che, Chef Min, this isn't a match. It's an assault. Defeat him ruthlessly and completely." He realizes that the cooking he clings to so desperately is being helplessly trampled. He'll see precisely who he is dealing with. Chef Min confidently replies, "We won't be seeing each other again because..." He'll eventually leave on his own. As she approaches the stage, reporters surround her, inquiring about Elamin. Competing against the food truck cook brings a unique experience. They urge her to comment on Deok-Chun's provocations, while some can't help but admire her beauty and inquire if she has a boyfriend. Jun-ho closely examines Elamin, the woman who has come here openly to take his truck. Now standing before him, she thinks this is Kim Jun-ho, the man Nam Si-hee selected. He prepares food so delicious that even Si-hee can't resist him. She then recalls a moment when she prepared a meal for Si-hee, who hadn't even taken a single bite. This infuriated her, as she wondered why, despite using the finest ingredients, no one could replicate her cooking. It is so exotic that it offers an unparalleled taste. Ella asked Si-hee if she had lost her appetite or if there was an issue with her dish. Si-hee replies that it was delicious, but it's not the real food she's seeking. Ella is infuriated by the term real food. Now, currently, Jun-ho states, "I assume Chairwoman Yoon Hee-young sent you, but it's best to leave before things get messy." Ella grabs him by the shirt and says, "Hey, don't give me that nonsense. Do you honestly believe that cooking food on the street puts you on my level? I'm not interested in your cooking games, so please leave me alone." She walks past Si-hee, telling her to just wait. She'll show her what real food truly looks like. Si-hee is concerned about the escalation. She calls out to Deok-Chun and apologizes, promising to find a way to fix this. However, Jun-ho confidently replies that he cannot simply stand by while she insults food trucks. Seeing this, Si-hee is impressed by how cool he is. Jun-ho confidently declares that he will counter her words by demonstrating what true cooking is. Uncle Deok-Chun also supports him, encouraging our protagonist. The scene shifts to his truck, where Jun-ho confirms that the match format involves food truck sales and that the main ingredient is potatoes. Si-hee anxiously reveals that Elamin is one of the top-ranked chefs in the world. What kind of dish should they prepare to secure a win? Jun-ho replies that since it's determined by sales volume, it must be something that appeals to everyone. We'll decide on the menu later. First, let's go pick up some fresh potatoes from Gangwon province. Si-hee eagerly joins in. However, when they arrive at the grocery store, they find that there are no potatoes available. Si-hee suggests checking the supermarket, but it's also out of stock there. They then decide to visit a local store but find it empty. Feeling confident, they head to a traditional market, believing it will have what they need. Yet even there, everything feels empty. Jun-ho asks the owner why there are no potatoes in Gangwon province, and if a typhoon has affected the area. The man replies that a typhoon did come through, and swept them all away. Jun-ho is taken aback by this. The owner points to the food truck and says, "I don't know what got into them, but they bought it for 10 times the price." Rows of trucks carry stacks of potatoes that are filled to the brim. Jun-ho admits they caught him this time with such a dirty trick before the game even began. He then notices a crowd gathered around Si-hee, admiring her beauty and speculating about her marital status. Jun-ho glares at her, believing she finds the situation quite amusing. Si-hee then approaches him, holding a potato and saying she found it. He tells her that while they can find regular potatoes anywhere, it's a significant disadvantage compared to freshly harvested ones. Just then, someone exclaims that he has tons of potatoes at his house. They both turn to ask about it. A boy named Taebong confirms that he has around 100. The scene then transitions, and Jun-ho's expression is peculiar as he inquires if Taebong mentioned there were 100. The camera then pans over to the field, and he exclaims that there must be over 1,000 here. Having received permission, they both prepare to harvest before sunset. The scene shifts to later, after the sun has set. We see that Jun-ho is nearly done with the harvesting. At that moment, Si-hee calls out to him, mentioning that they have already peeled over 100. Junho gazes at her dress, realizing that even in such attire, she still stands out as a city girl. At that moment, she trips and falls awkwardly, prompting a sigh from Junho. He extends his hand, suggesting that she should rest now, as it would be detrimental if her injured hand worsens. Sae-hee is moved by his empathy. She hugs him gently and asks if he's really that worried about her. Junho responds that it's not about her, it's about the hand. Sae-hee playfully teases him, calling him cute. At that moment, Taebong calls out, announcing that it's snack time. They are served macchiato and potato pancakes. Junho goes to taste it, curious about how a potato pancake made from fresh potatoes would turn out. As it touches his palate, he inwardly exclaims at the sweetness and softness of the fresh potatoes. The rich and savory flavor is immediately apparent. It seems like a waste to dip these pancakes in soy sauce. The rich, natural flavor of the ingredients. With these potatoes, I can succeed. At that moment, Sae-hee held out her cup filled with macchiato and said, "Cheers." They both swallow it quickly and feel rejuvenated after a long day of harvesting. At that moment, our guy realizes it's a macchiato and that she's allergic to it, but it's too late. She's already high and her vision starts to blur as she calls his name. A rush of memories with Junho envelops her, making her feel as though she is dreaming. At this moment, she feels incredibly happy together. She never wants to let go of Junho again, but then she realizes that she cannot protect Mr. Deok-Chun. Because of her mother, she asks if he's in pain. Is it difficult to love her? Her mother grabs his hand, and Sae-hee shouts for him not to leave. In reality, we see her crying while she is on top of him. Junho, confused, asks if she is okay. Her vision is blurred from tears, and she keeps murmuring for him not to leave. Her tears cascade down his face as he gazes at her with concern. At that moment, his eyes widened as she falls on him, completely catching him off guard. We flash back to earlier events. She lay unconscious on the floor, hallucinating and calling Deok-Chun a squid. Junho still needs to dig up more potatoes, but can't leave her in this state, fearing she might cause trouble. She senses her thoughts are a burden to him. He watches her, silently repeating her name. Soon, Taebong's uncle arrives to drive them in the truck loaded with. Sae-hee is leaning against his shoulder and she suddenly groans, apologizing to Deok-Chun. Noticing her excessive sweating, he wonders what kind of nightmare she must be experiencing to grip his hand so tightly. She quietly murmurs, "Don't go." Hearing her trembling voice nearly shook Junho's heart for a moment. His hand instinctively reached for hers, driven by a deep sense of. He assures his uncle not to worry, explaining that the wicked woman is simply drunk, that's all. Holding her hand for now doesn't mean he has fallen for her. The scene shifts to a later time where Junho expresses his gratitude to the elder for permitting them to stay for one night. He decides to call Chief Kim to come and pick up Sae-hee, but at that moment, it begins to rain. So he unloads Sae-hee from the truck, and she carries her into the house. There is just one pillow on the mattress, but Taebong proudly announces that he has found another pillow. Not wanting to trouble them, Junho tells Taebong that she will be going home now, but when he attempted to call Kim, the connection failed because of poor signal reception. Sae-hee slept peacefully, snoring loudly, while Junho muttered that she was driving him crazy. He wonders how the phone can stop working simply because of a little rain. Next, we discover the identity of the culprit. The ghostly uncle is recharging his spiritual power and directing it toward the power line, causing it to break. He laughs heartily, reassuring his daughter-in-law not to worry and telling her she can thank him later. Meanwhile, our guy couldn't sleep soundly with a woman next to him. Sae-hee groans about the heat, saying it's unbearable. She takes off her jacket and tosses it at Junho. She then calls out to him, and as he turns, he's caught off guard because she's already on top of him. Seeing her cry, he asks if she's okay. Through blurry eyes, she pleads for him not to leave. Her tears fall onto his face, but he silently warns himself not to fall for her tricks. If he gets caught up in this, he's a dead man. Why does she look so pained? Suddenly, his eyes widen as she falls upon him. He had already fallen asleep on top of him. Junho apologizes to his uncle, explaining that he truly tried his best to avoid the situation. However, Junho is unaware that his uncle was the one who orchestrated it. The scene now transitions to the following day. As the sunlight streams in, we see he comfortably passed out, while our guy hasn't managed to rest. Later, the scene shifts to the competition, where a large crowd has gathered, and the announcer takes the microphone. The competitors face off, their names and honor on the line. The man who risked everything for a food truck, Deok-Chun. Ella Min is the executive chef of the global corporation SH Food. You have just 2 hours to make your choice, which will determine the fate of these two chefs. What kind of dish will emerge from the humble potato? We're starting now. Jun Ho then locks in, thinking, I must win. If I lose everything. To defeat that woman, the simple cooking I've done so far won't suffice. He then toasts the brioche bun in clarified butter to form a crispy oil barrier, followed by a pinch of salt. Caramelize the surface with sugar until it becomes as thin as glass. The key is the filling, with potatoes as the main ingredient. Mix them with butter and heavy cream, then pass the mixture through a sieve to create a fluffy puree. Mix the yolks with salt and heavy cream, then cook over low heat until thickened to form a dense semi-custard. Boil the egg whites separately and mince them finely. Sauté to remove moisture and improve texture. And here's Jun Ho's secret ingredient, honey. Warm acacia honey with a bit of butter and water, just enough to blend. Add lemon juice and white pepper, then brush the mixture onto the bread. Jun Ho then presses the bell, revealing that he has already finished his potato egg mousse bread. The announcer presents the dish he prepared, stating that before tasting it, he will invite their special guest, Miss Nam Se-hee. She is surprised by this. Then they each take a bite. The announcer remarks that it's better than anticipated. The bread's salty and savory flavor resembles that of salt bread. Crunch. The delicately coated surface is delightful and intriguing from the outset. The bouncy texture of the egg whites, combined with the flavorful potato egg mousse, is particularly enhanced by the honey sauce, which elevates the dish to another level. However, Se-hee has a different perspective. She secretly acknowledges that it's delicious. But it's merely a fancy decoration. Se-hee takes only a single bite before staring at him, her expression a mix of disappointment and concern. She ponders whether Mr. Deok-Chun is afraid. At that moment, a lemon completes her dish. It's a beautifully presented truffle potato millefeuille. She describes her dish, thinly sliced potatoes brushed with truffle butter, stacked and baked to form a millefeuille shape resembling a flower. The announcer enthusiastically notes that it truly resembles a flower, and the visuals are stunning. Ella elaborates on how she balances the rich texture of the potato with a refreshing acidity. I incorporated a lemon butter foam and finely diced shallot confit for added sweetness, along with bacon chips for a touch of saltiness. I finally completed it with truffle and basil oil, which pair perfectly to enhance the aroma. The announcer is captivated by the dish, exclaiming that it melts effortlessly in the mouth. The flavors seep in as the aroma bursts forth. It's as if the potato is adorned in the finest luxury. I can't believe I can savor such a dish from a food truck. The flavor is truly heavenly. Customers are already lining up to taste it. Unbelievable. The difference is astounding, just as expected from Chef Lemon. Ella then gazes proudly at Se-hee, silently wondering, how is it? My ideal dish is meticulously crafted. It features a cloud-like texture and density derived from potatoes, balanced with saltiness and acidity. The rich fat envelops the palate, complemented by the aroma of basil and truffle. Can you believe it's a potato dish? She grits her teeth in anger, silently reminding herself not to compare it to that trash, and to acknowledge that her cooking is the best, the real deal. The announcer then asks Nam Se-hee to provide them with the review as well. Se-hee elegantly wipes her mouth and says that, unfortunately, neither of them is the genuine article. Ella is filled with rage as customers start to agree with Se-hee's review, noting that Deok-Chun's dish is mediocre, only slightly better than plain potato bread. They remark that it lacks potato flavor, and some express their dislike for it. While it may appear appealing, they find the taste to be predictable. Upon hearing the negative reviews, Yoon-ho appears visibly distressed. Sae-hee approaches him, her head bowed, and asks if he wants to run away. Joon-ho grips his knife tightly and yells, "Are you kidding me? Stop right there. I can't deal with this right now." But Sae-hee repeats once more that he is already running away. Joon-ho had reached his breaking point and turned in anger, shouting at her to stop. To his surprise, Sae-hee grabs him by the collar and shouts back that he's the one who needs to stop that type of cooking. Noticing her expression, Joon-ho ceases his argument. With disappointment, she mutters that this isn't the cooking of Mr. Deok-Chun she remembers. As Yoon-ho gazes at the food he prepared, he inwardly wonders, why did I even make this? It's the first emotion I've experienced in this truck in 3 years. Is it because I sense I'm about to lose? Or is it the anger? No, I'm not happy. He gazes at his uncle's figure, silently questioning, who am I meant to be? Then Jun-ho's reflection stands out in the frame, with his question already answered. Meanwhile, we see the ghostly uncle watching. The crowd flock to Ella Min's food truck, leaving Jun-ho's empty. The uncle inspects the food that Jun-ho prepared and is deeply disappointed. Jun-ho keeps his head down, contemplating his next move. Then, the uncle, filled with rage, shouts Kim Jun-ho's name. He heads directly to his food truck. Facing him head-on, she calls him a bastard and yells at him to quit already. Jun-ho stares in shock, his eyes widened in disbelief, as he murmured to his uncle. However, he couldn't find his uncle anywhere. Yen-hal then climbs into the driver's seat, ready to leave. Sae-hee can only look away in disappointment. The announcer notes that there are 40 minutes remaining and inquires whether Go Deok-chun's food truck is forfeiting. Yen-hal simply drives away, passing a luxurious car. Inside, Sae-hee's mother remains cold, believing she has emerged victorious. Then, she steps out of her car, accompanied by her secretary holding an umbrella. Noticing this, the announcer announces that the host of the competition, Chairwoman Yoon-hee-young of SHH, has arrived. The audience greets her with a round of applause. Young sits on a luxurious throne, while Nam Se-hee occupies a simple peasant stool with her head bowed. Chef Ella Min respectfully presents her dish to the chairwoman. The chairwoman tastes her food with a fork while inquiring about the man. Chef Min replies, "As you can see, he ran away. He struggled in his own way, but I suppose he came to understand the reality of who he was truly up against." The chairwoman replies, "I see. So, that was all the man amounted to. Great job, Chef Min. Compensation for this issue will be addressed appropriately." However, before she could finish her sentence, behind them, a truck accelerated violently, its heavy frame lifting off the ground. Sae-hee looks up in surprise as a shadow looms over her. The chairwoman's secretary and Chef Min are both taken aback by this. The food truck then touches down, gliding toward the competition area. It's none other than Jun-ho. He holds up a massive pan and places it on the blazing fire, which was ignited with firewood. He loudly apologizes and announces that Go Deok-chun's food truck will be resuming operations. The chairwoman grows annoyed by his persistence, muttering that it is unpleasant. Jun-ho puts on his gloves, reflecting on the look Nam Se-hee gave him, urging him to stop. He reflects inwardly that this wasn't like him. He had become obsessed with the idea of winning and had forgotten his uncle's teachings. Sharing the excitement with customers from the preparation stage, the thrill of presenting a finished dish, the tension as they take their first bite right in front of you. When worries fade away with their infectious laughter, a business where a single "it's delicious" brings joy more valuable than money. That's the reason I operate a food truck. I was greedy and arrogant. This potato is already a fully realized dish on its own. Jun-ho then apologized to the potato for the criticism it received from others. He pleaded with it to trust him once more. In shock, the announcer asked if he was crazy for talking to a potato. Chef Min prepares to cook once more, determined to defeat him completely. The two chefs start a synchronized knife dance as they cut the potato into slices. Chef Min cuts each piece thinner, denser, and softer, eager to demonstrate firsthand the difference in skill level. It truly is. One of the reporters holds up a sign for the announcer to check his glasses. The camera shifts to the announcer, who exclaims, "Can you see it? I didn't even notice it was stuck to the glasses." The potatoes are so thin, and excitement builds as people speculate on how the competition will change and what Deok-Chun plans to do next. He reviews his results and mutters that it is a failure. Nearby voices declare that he is done for. With just 20 minutes remaining and defeat on the horizon, he unexpectedly drops whole potatoes into a cauldron of oil. Gasps ripple through the crowd as they wonder if he is simply making French fries. Min scoffs at the idea that all that effort for fries is absurd. The bell chimes. Both dishes are ready once more. It has been announced that the choice is between softer potatoes and crunchier ones, and this decision will determine everything. A sharp crunch pierces the air. Then, another one. The sound echoes loudly enough to startle people. Si-hee leans toward Tai Bong with an awkward smile and asks how the food from his uncle tastes. Tai Bong responds with wide eyes, saying it tastes just like potato flavor. He holds up a fry and feeds it to her. Crunching spreads as she chants, through mouthfuls, declaring that it tastes like potato, repeating the phrase while chewing continuously. Beneath the chorus of crunching, a question lingers. Why does this simple flavor feel so overwhelmingly satisfying? Tai Bong exclaims that Nuna has eaten everything. Si gazes at the last fry near her lips, pondering whether it is truly just an ordinary French fry. As she inspects it closely, her eyes widen. She exclaims that this is the one, noting the dense layers formed by the precise knife cuts. She describes that biting into them produces a crisp snap, reminiscent of stepping on dry autumn leaves. Couples bite in together. The announcer enthusiastically describes how the rich aroma and flavor of fresh potatoes burst in the mouth. He points out that even before the tongue fully registers the taste, the brain is flooded with dopamine. As the name Crunch Potato Fries appears like a signature, the crowd rushes toward Go Deok-Chun's truck, shouting in disbelief that it's already sold out and pleading for more. One person notes that they cost only 3,005 won and insists on buying additional items. Another voice calls for 3, then quickly changes the order to 5. Deok-Chun raises his strainer high like a banner and declares that 5 crunchy potato fries are on the way. He believes that this food brings happiness and warmth to people's hearts. She clasps her hands tightly, her smile radiant as she realizes this is the cooking she has truly fallen in love with. Across from them, a plate of potato fries is set. The chairwoman's expression sharpens as she crushes the food and declares that it is not over yet. She calls for Chief Kim and snaps her fingers. A loud countdown echoes, signaling just 10 minutes remain. The announcer panics, questioning the unfolding chaos. Junho looks up in shock as SH Group's trucks roll in, recognizing it as another cowardly ploy. Men pour out of the trucks, and the announcer, taken aback, wonders if SH is sending in its employees. While they are indeed the hosts, he barely begins to finish his thought when Secretary Kim hands him a bundle of cash. Bro immediately concedes and commends SH Corporate's philosophy, noting that even employees are treated like guests. She walks away, instructing her men to silence all parties opposed to this. With just 10 minutes left, the line for Chef Lemon's food has reversed once more. The outcome remains entirely unpredictable. Meanwhile, the genuine customers voice their complaints openly. This is meant to be a showdown, and they question the fairness of the situation. It feels like corporate tyranny. They empathize with Deok-Chun, believing that SH will prevail through underhanded tactics. Asks if they aren't ashamed. Chef Min is furious as they mock her for SH Group's underhanded tactics. She tosses aside her toque and storms over to the chairwoman, shouting her name in anger. Secretary Kim steps in front of her, urging her to calm down. Chef Min orders her to remove the employees immediately, asserting that her cooking can outshine that kind of trash any day. The chairwoman brings the cigarette to her lips, and as her employee lights it for her, she coldly mutters, "That kind of trash? Whose cooking is she referring to?" Chef Min freezes at those words. Customers are dissatisfied with her food. One patron advises her son to take at least one more bite since it's expensive, but the boy declines, stating that it tastes bad. Others remark that the flavor is sophisticated, yet it lacks a sense of fun. 15,000 won. Yet they can barely manage a single bite. Chef Min shoots a disapproving look at a customer who chooses cola to accompany her meal. She snatches his drink, yelling at him and questioning his sanity for drinking cola with her perfect dish. He retorts that he paid for it, so what does it matter to her? She crushes the bottle in anger, seething inwardly. You people aren't worthy of tasting this. It's a dish you'll never truly appreciate in your lifetime. You need to adjust to my cooking. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to Jun-ho. With only 5 minutes left, he worries that he will lose at this rate. He loses all hope, yet at that moment, Si-hee picks up a microphone to conduct a sound check. She greets everyone and, pointing to her stall, announces that free tastings of SH's new beer are available. The crowd responds with excitement. Jun-ho is taken aback by her bold move. The crowd goes wild as they swarm Jun-ho's food truck with free beer, claiming that the fries pair perfectly with it. Si-hee personally serves customers free beers, which boosts Jun-ho's sales as they crave more fries. Jun-ho feels grateful for her assistance, and he fulfills his own responsibilities, sprinkling salt on the fries with flair and keeping up with the influx of orders. In the final moments, the announcer counts down to the end of the showdown. The crowd buzzes with excitement, cheering for Deok-Chun's food truck. Si-hee also joins in the cheering while her mother looks on with displeasure. Chef Min diligently fulfills her responsibilities, trying to win against Jun-ho. The showdown has concluded. The announcer highlights the intense cooking battle between two chefs, showcasing potatoes from Gangwon Province. As he prepares to announce the winner, the scene shifts to later, with the sun setting. Chef Ella Min continues to work at her food truck, focused on her cooking. She prepares to throw it away when a voice interrupts, suggesting that if she's going to discard it, she should at least give it to him. She is then surprised to see Kim Jun-ho holding up 20,001 to buy it from her. She tastes her cooking. As it touched his tongue, the flavor burst forth. He inwardly exclaims, "This is insane. What did she do to the potatoes? I can't even fathom copying it. I have nothing to add. It's on a whole different level." He then raises his fork to Ella, asking how such a thin slice of potato can have such depth of flavor. She scowls and replies that she didn't just use potatoes, she also spread truffle butter. She shouts at him like a devil, demanding to know why she should tell him and ordering him to stop asking. Jun-ho, however, shrugs it off, saying it can't be helped, and asks her for another serving. She shouts angrily, "You bastard! Did you come here to gloat because you won?" Before she can say anything more, Jun-ho comments that it's delicious and expresses his desire to enjoy her cooking again. Chef Ella freezes at his praise, a blush creeping onto her face as she wonders if it's due to the shock of defeat. It's a feeling she has never experienced before. She wants to create something even more delicious for him. She then regains her composure, points at him, and says, "Stay right there and don't move. I'll create something your cheap palate could never replicate." A slight smile appeared on her face as she started cooking for him. At that moment, Nam Se-hee arrives, commending his efforts. Jun-ho expresses his gratitude for her earlier assistance. Se-hee winks playfully and says, "Oh my, I'm not sure what you mean. I was just promoting SHE's new beer." Hunyo, still confused, asks why she helped him. If he had lost, she could have taken everything he had. She responds that it's not something she desires strongly enough to pursue with her mother's assistance. Jun-ho leans in closer and asks what the real reason is for her obsession with him. With a warm smile, she reveals that it's because she likes him. Upon hearing this, Jun-ho narrowed his eyes, thinking she was a tough woman. Her expression remained unchanged. She intended to legally acquire the food truck's brand rights and recipes through marriage. Se-hee suddenly clings to him affectionately, her soft, squishy chest pressed against him as she urged him to marry her already. Startled, he recoils and warns her not to approach, shouting that he will be shot if she does. From inside the truck, LMN glares at them with visible irritation and shouts that he truly came just to gloat. She angrily demands that they both leave. After a while, a phone starts ringing with new messages. In the group chat, Park Yuri excitedly suggests they all go on a trip. Shin Soo-yeon responds with approval. Nam Se-hee expresses her love for trips and asks Deok-Chun if he will join them. Park Yuri proposes Gapyeong Valley, recalling that they had a great time there before. Shin Soo-yeon sends another approving message. Nam-Sihi enthusiastically expresses her love for playing in the water and asks Deok-Chun again if he enjoys it as well. Park Yuri mentions that she will book the lodging, and Nam-Sihi confidently suggests they should leave the very next day. The next morning, Nam-Sihi texts him, saying she is already waiting in front of his house and urges him to come outside. He stares at the message in silence. In the valley, the four of them walk together through the shallow stream. Nam-Sihi expresses her love for the sound of the water, noting that the area genuinely feels like a real valley. She urges Deok-Chun to hurry and cautions everyone to watch their step to avoid any accidents. Suddenly, someone spots a fish and excitedly points it out. Nearby, a watermelon glides across the water's surface. Junho reclines in the stream, reflecting on how he has spent the last 3 years running forward without pause. He realizes that sometimes it's refreshing to take a moment to stop and truly observe his surroundings. As he observes the others and notices that the two women appear to have formed an unexpectedly close bond, Park Yuri splashes water on Nam-Sihi, who then complains that her makeup will come off. If she continues doing that, she splashes water back and accuses Yuri of showing off for someone. Junho then turns to Shin Soo-yeon and asks if it was Soo-yeon he had been observing. He then wonders aloud if he doesn't like water. He walks over, wraps an arm around him, and expresses his relief that Soo-yeon came, noting that trying to fit in among women can be exhausting. He inquires if Soo-yeon has served in the military. Sitting nearby and holding his shoulder firmly, he advises him to eat more and exercise to avoid getting hurt. Soo-yeon quietly expresses his gratitude and respectfully addresses him as Sir. He tells him that if he is Yuri's friend, then he is his friend too, and suggests that he should just call him Hong. After a moment of hesitation, Soo-yeon softly calls out Hong. Suddenly, he notices the watermelon drifting away. He decides to go after it, but Junho warns him to be careful. Soo-yeon steps into the water, but moments later he loses his footing and falls in. Nam-Sihi panics, realizing Soo-yeon can't swim. She insists on getting a tube, but before anyone can react, Junho rips off his cap and jumps in. The women shout for Deok-Chun and Appa as he dives under. He finds Soo-yeon and grabs him, pulling him up securely. With a heavy splash, Junho surfaces, holding Soo-yeon tightly. Breathing heavily, he asks if he's okay. Soaked and trembling, Soo-yeon weakly calls out Hong again, tears glistening in his eyes. The timid tone sends a jolt through Junho, momentarily transforming Soo-yeon into a crying girl in his mind. Overwhelmed, he blurts out that he's not Hong before collapsing. Park Yuri notices his unusual reaction and asks what on earth he is thinking. Junho avoids her gaze and admits that he is contemplating something utterly absurd. He keeps telling himself that he must have seen it incorrectly and that it was likely just water in his eyes. Still shaken, he awkwardly asks Yuri what she would do if he revealed he was actually a girl. Yuri stares at him, confused, but her imagination ignites. In her mind, a female Junho leans in and sweetly suggests they bake double chewy cookies together. The thought sends her spiraling. She feels a mix of love, hate, and an overwhelming desire to embrace it all at once. Before, the atmosphere grows even more peculiar as Sihi and Yuri announce their plans to visit a nearby mart before sunset. As they depart, they suggest that Soo-yeon should stay back to help Appa with cooking. Alongside Soo-yeon, Junho attempts to concentrate on chopping the ingredients, but his mind is elsewhere. Complete chaos. Clearing his throat awkwardly, he admits he is no longer certain if referring to Soo-yeon as a guy was the mistake. Then, he corrects himself, noting that calling him the opposite might be an even bigger mistake. Ultimately, he concedes and suggests that they should just cook. He adds that he will chop the onions himself, as they would only make Soo-yeon's eyes sting. That fragile calm lasts only for a moment. Soo-yeon drifts closer, and Junho feels his grip slipping. He's convinced he's losing his mind, unsure of what she's thinking. Who is Soo-yeon, really? Then she leans in, whispers in his ear, asking if he's curious. He freezes as she encourages him to explore on his own. She places his hand on her cheek, drawing him even closer to the edge. Then Soo-yeon gently calls him Appa, startling him out of his thoughts. In a moment of panic, Junho jumps back and tumbles. He jumps straight into the river, creating a loud splash, Soo-yeon resurfaces and casually remarks that it was just a joke. A short while later, Sia and Yuri return, cheerfully announcing their arrival. They discover Junho soaked and staring blankly at his hand in disbelief. Yuri teasingly asks if he had been playing in the water all by himself, while Sihi melts and gushes over how adorable Mr. Deok-Chun is. Their attention quickly shifts as a rich aroma begins to waft through. The Junho lifts the lid to reveal the food, remarking that no one visits a valley without enjoying spicy braised chicken. He presents the dish as water-dropwort braised chicken. Sihi remarks that she has never tried it before and questions whether it is similar to a cocoa bean. Junho tells her to stop guessing and just taste it. The moment she takes a bite, it feels as if the entire valley has been poured into the dish. The warmth of the sunlight, the coolness of the breeze, and the fresh scent of water dropwort blend together seamlessly. The lightly blanched greens infuse the broth with a crisp texture, and their subtle bitterness further stimulates her appetite. Then the chicken follows, tender and generous, coated in a sweet and spicy seasoning. So addictive that it seems impossible to dislike. The others start eating as well. Junho explains that by marinating the chicken in advance, even the breast meat remains tender and full of flavor. He happily enjoys the potatoes that have absorbed the broth, stating that they are delicious enough to warrant finishing an entire bowl on their own. Yuri is amazed that the broth feels light and tastes clean and refreshing. She wonders if that unique finish comes from Chungyang chili or garlic. Junho shares that his secret ingredient is a pinch of ginger powder, which helps keep the broth tasting fresh and clean. By the time the meal is over and everyone is thoroughly satisfied, they commend it as an exceptional meal. Yuri expresses that she is completely full and also delighted by the stunning scenery, the food, and Mr. Dokkan himself. For a while, they sit quietly with their feet in the cold water, savoring the moment. The calm is interrupted when Junho offers everyone some watermelon as well. After that simple dessert, he suggests they should clean up first. Return to the lodge at sunset. Night descends upon the lodge, but the tranquility is short-lived. C suddenly realizes that Yuri is wearing Junho's shirt and immediately demands to know what's happening with their matching clothes. Junho calmly explains that he only lent them to her, but C instantly explosion of emotions and insists that Yuri remove it, claiming they look like a couple. Yuri shrieks that this university has completely driven her mad. Junho attempts to intervene. He argues before the situation escalates, offering to pour C a drink if she calms down. He urges everyone to stop and just enjoy their drinks. The glasses are filled, and the group raises their glasses in a lively toast. Once the alcohol begins to flow, Yuri spots the karaoke machine and excitedly declares that they absolutely have to sing. She grabs the microphone and dives into a playful yet openly provocative song. In the lyrics, she asserts that C will never win Appa over with her antics and confidently claims she will capture his attention with her youthful charm. She even compares Sihi to Dubai chocolate with a bittersweet pistachio flavor, transforming the entire performance into a joyful onslaught. Observing all of, Junho thinks with satisfaction that he knew this would serve as a distraction. Then his mind wanders to a completely different thought, and he suddenly starts to seriously wonder why he had never considered that Dubai chocolate might actually sell well. Meanwhile, the tension between the women intensifies. Yuri confidently asserts that she understands Appa's taste far better than C ever could. C responds with a sharp glare, resembling an older rival sizing up a brat who is trying too hard to appear fresh. C confidently approaches Junho and insists that he sing a duet with her. Junho quickly replies that he truly dislikes singing. Nevertheless, as soon as the microphone is in his hand, he begins to sing with little hesitation. His voice proves to be much better than anyone anticipated. He effortlessly navigates the duet, even delivering a line about only being able to laugh and questioning whether the other person still sees him as a child. Sihi beams with satisfaction and teasingly asks. Yuri was asked what she thinks about it being labeled a couple's song with Mr. Deok-Chun and whether she feels jealous. She immediately responded, swelling with irritation. She insists that the next verse is hers and grumbles that the key is too low. Then she abruptly re-enters, exclaiming that everything from 1 to 10 is nonsense and insists that Mr. Spettel, Deok-Chun, sing with her instead. The entire room erupts into chaos. Another lyric about shouting nonsense at those who refuse to listen resonates throughout the space. The room can only stare in amazement, and Yuri finds himself marveling at the scene. She never realized a person could sing using their arm muscles as well. Junho attempts to calm the chaos, but he only ends up shouting even louder into the mic. When as the song finally concludes, he reiterates that he truly hates singing. The others quickly remark that for someone who claims that he certainly looks like the person in the world who wants to sing the most. As the drinks keep flowing, Junho urges everyone to slow down. The girls tease him for sounding like an old man and quickly propose another game instead. They agree to play the paper passing game, where the team that transfers the fewest slips, using only their mouths, has to drink. Junho glances at the setup and immediately recognizes the trap. He points out that if all three of them are on one side while he stands alone on the other, he is certain to lose and end up drinking. However, nobody pays him any mind. Yuri goes first. The paper rests between their lips, erasing the distance between their faces. The moment their lips touch the paper, Yuri's mind goes completely blank. She feels Appa's lips so vividly that she crumbles into a blushing with panic. She wonders what she is supposed to do now. Before she can regain her composure, time is called, and her side fails to score any points. Next, Sihi confidently announces that it is now her turn with Mr. Deok-Chun, expressing that she is fully prepared. She leans in with clear assurance. However, Junho quickly ruins the mood by handling the pass too roughly and directly. Sihi pulls away and reprimands him, stating that this is not how the game is meant to be played. Then it's Soo-Yun's turn. As the round begins, a strange series of popping sounds erupts one after another. Everyone looks around in confusion, wondering what the noise could be. Yuri stares in disbelief, commenting on how absurdly fast it is. Yunho and Soo-Yun pass the paper back and forth at an incredible speed. The number quickly climbed past 20 in no time. When Yunho reaches for another slip of paper, Soo-Yun quietly notes that they have runs out. Junho attempts to halt it, but before he can finish, the paper barrier disappears, and the distance disappears as their lips meet. The instant the paper vanishes, Soo-Yun's lips press against Junho's, leaving him frozen in place. In complete shock, she inwardly begs for it to end. But the moment lasts less than a heartbeat before chaos erupts. The girls charge at him, one furiously cursing and wishing him dead, while Yuri screams that Appa is trash. Yet, amidst her rage, she admits she still likes him, though she'll never forgive him. Junho clutches his head, pleading that he was just standing there, insisting it was an accident. He tries to calm the situation by saying, people can make mistakes, but as Soo-Yun lightly touches those freshly kissed lips, she quietly wonders if it was truly just a mistake. The drinking game goes on regardless. He throws out a ridiculous example about eating pasta floating in zero gravity at a space station, only to be corrected that she should provide something more relevant. Yuri smugly demonstrates how to fold a guy, saying, "This is how it's done." Yunho, feeling exasperated, he states that if they're going to play dirty, he won't back down either. He jokes that he'll just embrace being a girl instead, and asks them to call him Unnie. He laughs and remarks that Mr. Deok-Chun's insistence on that role is oddly endearing. Junho, now thoroughly fed up with everyone, says they should all just die together and exclude anyone who has kissed him. She eagerly volunteers herself, brimming with excitement. Jomho dryly remarks that this is precisely why it's better not to fold. Yuri sinks into despair as the only one who never made it that far. Someone cautions everyone to stay alert unless they want to face the dreadful penalty shot. They note that, for the record, only Mr. Deok-Chun and Soo-Hyun remain in the game. It's Soo-Hyun's turn. Soo-Hyun quietly states that among the people, Junho is taken aback by a brief confession. Someone has feelings for him. It sends his thoughts spiraling. He imagines himself as Yuri Soo-Yun, the cable heiress who appears to have it all, yet feels like a younger sibling, easing everyone's discomfort. She remains an enigmatic mystery, her true thoughts concealed. Junho grapples with the absurd question of whom he would choose. He immediately recoils from the idea and scolds himself, reminding himself that there's no reason to choose anyone at all. He doesn't need to conform, and he's not interested in any of the three. Instead of remaining still, Soo-Yun suddenly grabs the penalty bowl and takes a drink from it. Everyone is taken aback and asks why. Soo-Yun wipes her mouth and softly admits it was a mistake, explaining that there had been some confusion. Junho quickly concludes that it couldn't have been a genuine mistake, and he and Yuri exchange narrowed glances, both seemingly suspecting the same thing. Later, as the night deepens, Junho feels the air growing colder and asks where Suyin has gone. He learns that Suyin went for a walk to clear her head, and that no one noticed her departure. After a brief pause, Junho responds that he realized something was left in the car and decided to retrieve it. However, once he stepped outside, it becomes clear that he is genuinely searching for Su-yun, walks through the dark woods, pondering how far he could have ventured and whether wandering alone at night is truly frightening. Even his uncle's ghost taunts him, labeling him a big-bodied coward. Then, Su-yun's voice calls out to him, addressing him as Appa. Junho responds with relief, mentioning that he has been searching for a while, and then asks why Su-yun is out there alone. Su-yun, sounding surprised, questions whether he had truly been looking for him. They had been searching for her when she suddenly appeared before them like a ghost, holding a flashlight, startling both Junho and his ghostly uncle screamed in terror. Noticing that reaction, Su-yun pauses for a moment before bursting into laughter. Watching Junho's laughter turn into sudden panic was unexpected. Believes that Su-yun appears quite normal after all, amid that unpredictable personality and the series of strange incidents. As he reflects on everything that has accumulated, he realizes he has been avoiding Su-yun without even realizing it. He begins to wonder if Su-yun is just a woman in her 20s awkwardly trying to connect with him. With that thought in mind, he decides he should take the initiative, just as he would with a younger sibling. He gently pats Su-yun on the head and suggests that it's cold and that they should return inside, this time calling the pole. Su-yun directly grabs his arm. Junho notices her trembling and asks if she feels cold. Su-yun quietly responds that she isn't shaking due to the cold. When they return together, closely linked enough to appear intimate, C immediately cries out in protest, demanding to know why. They're returning like that. She expresses frustration about the locked arms and insists that if there's going to be a night walk, she should be included as well. Yuri quickly interjects, asserting that the same should apply to her. The two of them rush at him simultaneously. The scene descends into another mess ensues, and before anyone can intervene, Junho is knocked straight into the water. With a huge splash, he emerges shirtless and dripping wet. Sihi and Yuri gaze at him in stunned silence before whispering in admiration that he is incredibly attractive. Junho glares at them and snaps that they should all just go to sleep already. Later, while he is in the shower, Sihi cheerfully. She mentions that Appa's clothes can serve as pajamas and decides to leave her own clothes behind as a gift for him. She goes in after her, glances at the clothes, and instantly senses that something is off. To her, they unmistakably appear to be women's clothing. And suspicion begins to creep in. Her thoughts start to shift, fitting everything together like scattered puzzle pieces. All the peculiar things Junho had mentioned, the unusual circumstances that continued to accumulate, and even his earlier joke about becoming a girl began to resurface one by one. She admits to herself that she had never truly believed it before. Then she confesses something even more candid. Perhaps she just didn't want it to be true. Only now do all the pieces begin to fall into place. In her mind, drunk Yuri suddenly breaks down in tears, sobbing that Unnie is hated, and that she genuinely hates Unnie. Seihi rushes to comfort the crying Yuri, ready to confront anyone if necessary. Meanwhile, the room spirals into drunken chaos. After washing up, Junho returns with a towel around his neck and finds the girls already asleep. Noticing the younger ones have been drinking again, he clicks his tongue at the overpowering smell. The scent of alcohol permeates the room. His gaze shifts from one sleeping figure to another, and he realizes that they have all collapsed side by side. Then, a new problem arises. With everyone sleeping like that, there's no clear spot for him to lie down. As he gazes at Su-yun, and Yuri sprawled across the futon, he begins to, panicking inwardly, Junho wonders who he is supposed to sleep next to. He lies there in despair, silently pleading with his uncle for assistance. His uncle, with a serious expression, he points toward the sofa and then gestures to the far side of the room. The girls seem to think the answer is obvious, but Junho completely misses the hint and, instead, he begins to reason through the disaster and concludes that Yuri may be the safest option. Since she is the youngest and someone he has known for years, the moment he inches closer to her, Yuri sleepily murmurs that she wants Appa and doesn't want her sister. That alone is enough. He immediately rejects that option. Turning his attention to Sihi, he finds no comfort there either. Sihi is asleep, her cheeks flushed as she hugs her pillow, and he can't help but imagine himself lying down beside her. Being beside her already makes him uneasy. In the next moment, she reaches out of her sleep and murmurs around Mr. Deok-Chun. Jun-ho immediately panics. He suspected that something like this would occur. He barely slips away before she finds herself wrapping her arms around a pillow instead, sleepily kissing it and murmuring his name with complete satisfaction. Jun-ho trembles with relief, and he feels it was too close. Suddenly, Soo-hyun wakes up and softly calls him Appa. Jun-ho realizes he's hovering over her and thinks he's done for now that Shin Soo-hyun is awake. There's no way to explain this. Before any misunderstanding can escalate, Soo-hyun quietly asks if he has nowhere to sleep, then shifts to the side and pats the pillow. There's an empty space beside her, and she gently encourages him to lie down and rest comfortably. Jun-ho hesitates, overwhelmed by a tiring day. He felt the lingering effects of alcohol and an unusual warmth enveloping him. He believes he needs to escape somehow, but sleep overtakes him first. When he opens his eyes again and gasps, horror envelops him as all three have piled onto him in their sleep. He feels one draped over him, Yuri pressed tightly against him, and Soo-hyun tucked in as well. Trapped under the full weight of this nightmare, Jun-ho can only silently beg for help. Morning arrives, and just like that, he's back at work, wearing a bandana emblazoned with Deok-Chun. He admires the dumplings, noting how nicely they have steamed. As he looks at them, he contemplates whether today should mark the beginning of his business. The story shifts to Jeonju, with Jun-ho standing by. He approaches the food truck and hands over a box of meat dumplings, stating that one order is ready. A long-haired woman steps forward. She offers to help with the payment, but shyly asks if he can truly assist her. Jun-ho, focused on business, simply states the price. Taken aback, she apologizes for the awkwardness. As the moment stretches, Jun-ho recalls that So Yang is a celebrated traditional artist from a historic restaurant in Jeonju with over a century of legacy. Recalls the tourism pamphlet that describes So Yang as a cultural landmark, highlighting its late master, Madame Yang. Gumhoa has preserved traditional flavors so faithfully that it has become a symbol of the city. He then observes that the woman before him is Yang Miok, the granddaughter of Yang Junghwa. After piecing everything together, Jun-ho asks if Miok ran away because she dislikes cooking. Miok promptly denies it. She says she enjoys cooking, just not that particular style. Jun-ho understands it's simply a matter of differing tastes. Miok-shi bows her head and apologizes for unloading such a heavy story on him, even though it doesn't concern him. Jun-ho calmly states that it's perfectly fine and that hearing customers' stories is one of the enjoyable aspects of operating a food truck. That straightforward answer strikes Miok deeply. She takes both of his hands in gratitude and calls out to Mr. Deok-Chun with sparkling eyes. Then the atmosphere is shattered as her grandmother arrives with commanding authority, demanding to know what Miok is doing there. Miok recoils in alarm and calls for her grandmother. The old woman coldly commands her to stop this nonsense and return to the kitchen. She reminds Miok that she is the successor who must inherit So Yang in place of her late predecessor. Mother, Miok refuses. Her grandmother is taken aback and insists on knowing what is happening. She simply stated, Miok, trembling yet determined, expressed her desire to cook certain dishes as well. The grandmother erupted in anger, denouncing such foolishness once more and questioning whether Miok understands the true significance of the cuisine they inherited. Then Miok said something even more shocked. Clinging tightly to Jun-ho, she proclaims that she will marry Mr. Deok-Chun and start a business with him. Everyone is left in shock. Her grandmother nearly collapses from the impact, prompting the nearby staff to rush to her aid. Jun-ho can only stare in disbelief as Mio clings to him. He already appears worn out by the chaos. Inside, he bitterly reflects that just when things had finally begun to feel peaceful, trouble has returned with a vengeance. The grandmother swiftly regains her composure and approaches Jun-ho directly. He feels the weight of her gaze as she silently wonders if this young man is truly the one responsible for filling her granddaughter's head with such nonsense. Before the argument escalates, the old woman spots his truck and the food on it. She understands that a cook speaks through their dishes. Taking a bite of his dumplings, she's hit by an explosion of flavor. The juices burst forth, the aroma lingers delightfully, and the balance of meat and vegetables in the filling is flawless. In that moment, she realizes that from a simple food truck, she has experienced something worthy of comparison to So Young itself. The blood that had long been stilled begins to stir once more. Content, she informs Go Dae-kun that she comprehends his message. Jun-ho replies blankly that he hadn't actually said anything. The old woman completely disregards that and makes her judgment. She introduces herself as Zhang Junhua, the owner of So Yang and the representative of Jeonju's culinary tradition. She then declares that if he genuinely intends to take the child away, he must prove himself. In 2 days, they will compete in front of So Yang. The battle menu will feature chicken skewers. Mayok is taken aback and nervously asks if that is really the case. I'm curious if Mr. Deok-Chun was taken by surprise. Jun-ho looks down at her and says that since it has come to this, they should simply aim for victory. Mayek is on the move once more. The challenge has been established. Now the question is whether a food truck specializing in chicken skewers can truly revive a place steeped in 120 years of history. Mayek raises Jun-ho's arm high and cheers for. After tidying the stall, Jun-ho proposes they buy ingredients for chicken skewers. Mayok, excited, insists on showing him around G first. Anju leads the way, while Jun-ho nervously protests that it's not the right time for sightseeing. Despite this, Mayok pulls him into a tour before they even reach the ingredients. She dresses him in a blue hanbok and cheerfully declares that it suits him perfectly. The two wander around sampling snacks, enjoying photos taken in front of traditional buildings while exploring. Finally, Jun-ho mentions that if they stay out any longer, the market will close, so they need to buy what they need. Mayok immediately perks up and says she will take him to her favorite market. As Mayok arrives, the crowd quickly recognizes them. Excited shouts fill the air as people gather around. Some inquire if the rumor is true, while others ask what rumor they're referring to. And soon the answer spreads like wildfire. They mention that the little bean sprout is supposedly getting married, question whether Jun-ho is the one, and even joke that at least he looks strong enough. Jun-ho feels the heat of sudden attention and realizes the rumors have already spread this far. Mayok apologizes and explains that the people in the market have looked after her since childhood, which is why they are taking a special interest in this. Before they can escape, they are unexpectedly drawn into the Jeonju Market Strongman Couple Contest, which has just been revived and offers a substantial coupon prize. Jun-ho is pushed onto the stage, with a nervous Mayok beside him. The host starts the countdown, and the match begins. The rules are simple. The couple that can hold a horse stand the longest wins. Anyone who stands or sits down is disqualified. Jun-ho must support Mayok while keeping his own position. The posture draws immediate heckling from the crowd. Some laugh, suggesting that Mayok should give her husband some tonic, while others mock him for already sweating and question how he could be so affected. He plans to stay longer. 15 minutes pass and only 2 teams are left. One is Mayok and Jun-ho, the other is the rice shop owner. Mr. Park, a former Cerium champion, is with his wife. Jun-ho observes the monstrous pair still holding on. They feel a sense of firmness, but panic inwardly, questioning how they are supposed to overcome something like that. Mayok, meanwhile, she begins to tremble. She questions why she is even going through with this and admits that she has reached her limit and states that she cannot hold on much longer. With a guilty expression, she asks if she is truly that heavy. Upon hearing that, Jun-ho immediately strengthens his resolve. He reflects that, if he gives up now, it will feel like he caused her to cry. Deep down, he pleads desperately for strength. He pushes himself well beyond his limits and surges upward once more. With frightening determination, that sudden burst only startles Mayok. She calls out his name and loses her balance. The ball slips from his grasp and the referee declares Mayok's team out. Downcast, Mayok admits she didn't mean to let go. Jun-ho apologizes, but insists he's the one at fault. She disagrees, saying he must have had it harder. Blushing, she quietly adds that he looked really cool. Junho turns, confused, and asks her to repeat it, but he doesn't catch her words. The market vendors gather around them once more. They loudly proclaim that simply starting to drink is reason enough to celebrate. Then, they express their frustration, stating that after all the years spent raising Miok, there's no way they will let her go that easily. They want to know why Yunho isn't even holding a glass. Trapped. Once again, Yunho silently cries out for help as the interrogation starts with drinking. The first question asks about Myok's favorite food. Junho freezes and admits. Through his hesitation, he realizes he has no choice but to drink. Before long, he loses track of how many cups he has consumed. Even while drinking, he wonders how he could possibly know things about this woman, considering they had only just met. The next question asks what food Myok hates. Junho still cannot answer, and admits that he is unsure. The crowd erupts, declaring love shot level 2. Onlookers squeal, remarking that the two are irresistibly sweet, while Miok gently observes that Mr. Deok-Chun is clearly struggling. Noticing his condition, Myok leans in and softly reassures him not to worry. She explains that if no one cared about her, they would have already taken her home, so he just needs to endure a little longer. He places his hand over hers and gently reminds her that she was the one who said he would help her. He explains to her that this is their current situation, and they must see it through to the end. She gathers her courage and suggests that they should go for it. The next question arrives and inquires about Myok's birthday. Before the situation escalates, Junho quickly responds that he will just drink, but that response only heightens the crowd's suspicions. They start to wonder how a groom could be unaware of his bride's birthday and question whether Myok has been dishonest about something. Junho realizes with horror that they are on the verge of being exposed. Then, the crowd suggests that if they're going to proceed, they should fully commit and see it through. Junho echoes those sentiments. In disbelief, the response arrives instantly. They declare love at level 4, revealing its true meaning. It's mouth-to-mouth. Junho and Myok both freeze. They immediately think about running and agree that it's necessary. Get out quickly, but Myok suddenly refuses. With fierce determination, she declares that no one will leave until they demonstrate their seriousness. The crowd stands firm, blocking the way. Their journey grows increasingly difficult, revealing the seriousness of those around them. Junho, muddled by alcohol, questions why Myok would go to such lengths for a virtual stranger. A troubling thought arises. Could Myok actually have feelings for him? As he looks at her flushed face and trembling eyes, the realization sinks in. The mood begins to shift. He realizes that if they actually go through with this, their lie will cease to be a lie. The gap between them closes, and before he can rein in his thoughts, that possibility becomes unsettlingly real. After all the drinking, the market women practically carry Junho away, concerned that at this rate, Myok will wear out. The groom is passed out cold, and I can't help but wonder how much he drank. I decide to lay him down in the guest house across the street. Myok keeps calling for Deok-Chun to wake up, but secretly hopes this is her chance to escape. The owner insists one room is enough for a married couple, and Myok can only express gratitude as he pulls Junho inside. Alone, Myok struggles to navigate the awkwardness. The homeowner intentionally lowers the temperature until the room is freezing cold. He recalls the fable about the wind attempting to blow off as Junho shivers more intensely and curls up tighter as he watches the room grow icy. In a panic, Myok cries, expressing that she doesn't even know how to turn it off. Deok-Chun faces her end, embracing the chill of the room, convincing herself it's just the cold. But the owner changes tactics, turning up the heat. The room becomes stifling, and Myok groans, overwhelmed by the heat. Junho takes off his shirt, leaving her blushing with embarrassment. The old fable's lesson resonates within her. Warmth opens hearts more readily than force, even in chaos. In the stillness, Junho murmurs Myok's name in his sleep. She wakes with a start, whispering his name in disbelief. But as he calls for help again, she understands he's merely sleep-talking. Still half asleep, Myok quietly confesses everything she has been holding inside. She admits that she feels completely lost and expresses her gratitude for his help. She clarifies that her feelings are not due to any hatred for her grandmother. She understands the significance of the family business. Rather, it's simply that she does not want to continue. She feels like a cog in a machine. She expresses her desire to find happiness in cooking the food she loves, just like Deok-Chun. She acknowledges that she still needs to earn her grandmother's approval, recognizing that this may be her last opportunity, and admits to feeling scared. She wonders if they can truly succeed. Dawn gradually brightens the room as he stays beside her in the stillness. Between them, the atmosphere becomes softer. The next morning, Mayok greets him with a hesitant, "Good morning." Junho awakens. Half-naked and unable to recall the details, he nervously asks if he did anything unusual the night before. Mayok repeats the question to herself and then shyly admits that she liked it. The answer hits him so hard that he nearly topples over. She inwardly clarifies that she was referring to the honest conversation, as it made her feel they had grown closer. Junho's stomach churns in protest. He groans about the chaos inside him and pleads for hangover food first. Mayok quickly asserts that there's only one remedy for a hangover. She places down a steaming cup. Junho eagerly digs into his bean sprout soup topped with a poached egg, savoring the clear broth that quenches his thirst and eases his stomach. The crisp bean sprouts and rice hit the spot as he finishes the bowl, followed by a sweet cup of mixed coffee. Mayok then casually presents tteokbokki and fried snacks, including fried lettuce. He asks if she truly enjoys this type of food, to which Mayok happily replies. She loves tteokbokki, shredded bread, cheese-sprinkled chicken, tangulu, macarons, cream-filled donuts, frozen yogurt, and more. Hearing this, Junho can only conclude that with flavors like those, it makes perfect sense that she ran away from home. As they eat, Mayok cautiously brings up what he mentioned earlier. She reminds him that if they win, they'll get married. He wonders if that was just to motivate him. Sudden marriage would be strange, he thinks. As he tries to respond, she cuts him off. "Before marriage, we should date first." Her words leave him frozen in shock. Just then, a parade passes by outside, interrupting their moment. Mayok notices an event unfolding today, while Junho is gripped by dread, sensing a haunting familiarity. He desperately calls for the back door, urging his aunt to reveal its location, but it's too late. A woman in a flashy outfit emerges, and Junho recoils, shouting for her to stay away. Mayok stares, realizing that it's Nam Se from SH Group arrives cheerfully, prompting Mayok to express her admiration. It's her first time seeing Se in person, and she finds her stunningly beautiful, noting that even women would be attracted to her charm. Mayok, still processing the situation, comments on the strange coincidence and asks if Se is friends with Mr. Deok-Chun. Se quickly responds, "That is wrong." She then wraps herself around Junho and declares that they are engaged to be married. Mayok freezes in place. She gazes at them in disbelief, questions whether it's really true, and starts to falter as she attempts to grasp what that means for her.